identify as a husband? Is that your claim?
Yeah, I do identify as a husband, if that's what you want to know.
Okay, so what's your definition of husband, John?
It's a family resemblance.
What does that mean, John?
Yeah,
Is
so
that
much for
sufficient for
biblical
you,
marriage, right?
Jeff? Is that
Yeah, so
sufficient
yeah,
for
so
you to
Bib
be accepting of my identity?
no, because a husband is a man of one wife, and he has respect in the community. Yeah, and
Wait a minute,
husband,
sir. A
yeah,
husband is one of
marriage.
one wife. I mean, I think polygamists, all five wives call their husband
No,
a
I'm
husband.
talking about what the scripture says, especially like for the qualifications for a deacon, that he be a husband of one, one wife.
You
I think
think
it
if a
says.
man has five wives, he cannot be understood a husband to all five wives, sir? I mean, you said the husband, but of one
This is
wife.
John, it
amazing,
took
Where are you
you
dude.
all
getting
day
that
to
I'm
come
from?
doing
up
it.
with this.
I'm doing an internal critique using the scriptures, John. What
We're
it says.
doing a family resemblance.
He's
All
going to
right.
do whataboutisms for the rest of the day. He's literally never
Family
going to engage his
resemblance.
own
No,
concept.
this is great.
Never.
And he's just destroying the ideal of marriage now. This is supposed to be a sanctified thing, right? Listen, he's just in front of all
I'm
these other
just doing
Christian
an
brothers.
internal
He's
critique of
destroying
what
the
you're
ideal
willing
of
to
marriage.
accept.
He's saying that you can just identify as whatever you want. You can identify as marriage if you want,
Yeah.
as married
Yeah,
if you want.
I identify
There is
as
no
married.
sanctity.
I identify as married.
I
And
identify as
in fact, I identify as a married attack helicopter. In fact, that's what I identify as, John.
But see, Tom, you're not justified by faith. You're
There
not
you go.
justified by
Welcome,
faith.
welcome to progressiveness.
It's not
But that,
welcome to
wait,
progressiveness.
So, John, I clearly asked you that you identified as a husband, and you said yes, you do, and the reason was family resemblance. Is that what you said?
What the fuck does he mean by that, Tom?
What he's trying to say is that marriage to him isn't some kind of like concrete thing. It's kind of like a cluster of traits, or in John's case, feels.
Actually, Tom, I said if I were to say that.
Well, are you saying that?
That's why I asked you very clearly, John. Do you identify as a husband? You said you did, and so I asked you the reason why, and you said because of family resemblance.
Is that sufficient for you, Jeff?
I mean,
I don't
the
even know
thing.
what that means, John.
I
I
mean, the
have no
thing
idea
is
what that
that
even means.
there's a couple different
John.
senses that are being talked about here, and John is switching between the two, like when things get a little
Yes.
dicey. So I mean, there's the sense of being married, which is just contingent upon you having legally been married, right? You have that status, you filled out the paperwork, whatever. There's just a fact of the matter as to whether or not you're legally married or not. The other sense is which you just say to us, I feel like a husband. I feel like I'm married. Something functionally about your relationship or your interactions with your wife is just your feels telling you that this is what it's like to be married. And
I have
that's
a question.
fine
Is a
if
woman all about feels, Tom?
if that's what you're saying, and then you if that's all you mean when you say I identify as married, then I don't have a problem with that. It's just your
Oh, you don't have a
feels.
problem. The second question is: a woman all about feels?
oh, he's going to try so hard to run away from
Simple
this.
question. I mean, it's either the case that it is or not.
Well, now you're asking me about the first sense, and when I was saying the second sense, you're trying to you're actually switching again. So if a person,
No. If it's I'm just asking: is woman about feels? It's either the case or it's not.
it depends on what you're talking about. So if you're talking about a woman is going to be XY chromosomes with
Oh, I thought that would
regards,
be
sorry,
female,
XX chromosomes with
not
regards to
woman.
that standard. If that's the standard, then there's going to be a fact of the matter whether or not that's a female or not, right? But anyway, you're switching
Oh, you're trying to say
again.
there's a fact of the matter of woman? Is that what you're saying, sir?
There is a fact of the matter if
Yeah.
there's a standard, yeah.
What's your standard for marriage, John?
So, in other words, are you saying there's a standard for woman?
What's your standard for
There can
marriage,
be
John?
many standards.
And so you're saying that if a person is wanting to identify as a woman, you're going to ask them about their standard, or are you just going to be accepting of their claimed identity?
Yeah, it's all going to depend on what they mean by that. If they
So you're
mean
going to
that,
say, like, it depends on what you mean by that before I can call you a woman? Is that how it goes?
yeah, well, if they meant that I'm biologically a female, then I wouldn't agree with that. If they mean that I'm transgender and I identify as a female, I feel like doing female things, I feel like culturally I fit with this gender, blah, 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 that's all fine. I don't care about that.
So I feel like, a husband, I do husband things, something like that, you would be accepting of that, Tom? Is that what I'm hearing from you,
Yeah,
sir?
that's all you're saying is just your feels, and that's fine. Yeah, I accept that. But
Then not much more needs to be said, because do you think of consideration as a feeling, sir?
consideration, I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, I mean, I was asked, if I consider myself a
I got
husband.
a good
I'm
question
just
for
saying, if I
John.
Yeah, but
do
I mean, like
consider
yesterday when you're talking about
myself a
this, you were
husband,
bringing up like common law marriage, and
I'm just
that's
asking, do
not in
you
the sense of
understand that to be a
feeling.
feeling?
That's in the sense of like is. That's in the sense of there's a fact of the matter about it, right? So you're just attempting to switch between
Would
them
it
to
be
like
synonymous with
legitimize
I
the real
consider myself
sense.
a woman?
Well, it's
What?
commonly a law.
No, I'm just saying, if a person said I consider myself a woman, it could be understood as I feel like I'm a woman. Does it not, Tom?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
could
like
mean
man,
that,
I
right? If
feel
they
like a
There
if
you
they
woman.
say
go. And
I
so if a person says I feel like I am a husband, um, or that I'm married, it could be completely parallel understood as the same thing. Correct?
Right. John is trans married. Yeah.
right,
So then,
I'm actually
if that's
curious.
the
exactly.
case, you have absolutely no issue whatsoever of the person's claimed
Yeah, let's just see
identity.
if
Is that
John can
correct?
hold consistently with that. John, let's say that you're meet this woman. Let's say you meet a woman, right? And you ask this woman directly, "Are you a female?" And she says, "Yes, I'm a female." Then you sleep with this woman. You later find out that by female, she just meant that she feels like she's a woman, right? Would you call this woman dishonest?
It seems to me you're equivocating between female and
I'm
woman,
just
sir.
asking. Do you think that that person?
You are
Oh my god.
Well,
equivocating
yeah,
between female
she
and
feels like
you're
a female.
conflating the
Sorry,
two
she feels
words.
like a female. She
It's
feels like
not
a female, John.
equivocating.
Now would you say that that person was dishonest and lied to you?
We weren't talking about female. We're talking about woman.
Just answer the
Yeah,
question.
he
Would you
said
say that person
woman.
lied to you?
Oh my god.
You seem to be introducing additional terms.
Bro, he said woman. He
Stuff
corrected
like
himself. You're just like sticking on it because
legally
you're just trying
married,
to. You're
maybe
just
something like
desperate.
that.
You're just desperate.
I think the term legally married
Yeah, just be charitable,
is
John.
something
Just
you're
take the
trying
straw,
to
straw
introduce.
take the still man
Biologically female, maybe something like that. These are not the same terms. You
Why
understand
do
that, right?
all
So,
roads lead
I
back
mean,
to transgenderism?
come on.
Seriously, for Christians, I mean, like,
Am I
there's just
really
so.
hearing what I'm hearing?
Well, I
Well,
mean, he
with
was
Why?
having
John,
dreams of stuff going up his butt. So I mean,
all roads lead to dishonesty, I think.
So John, would you call that? So you asked her, "Are you a woman?" And she says, "Oh yeah, I'm a woman." And then obviously later on, you find out that by woman she meant trans woman, right? Now, would you find her dishonest?
I think I rest my case.
Well,
Oh,
yeah, I wrote my case, John.
well, it would be prematurely, and then you would lose the case, but you can rest it whenever you want. Just hilarious, man. I mean, how long have you guys been at this? I
It
mean,
is
this
kind
is
of
the best.
hilarious.
This
I'm
is the
serious. It is
best he's
kind of
been
hilarious.
able to come up with in, like,
He's been
since
quiet.
yesterday.
yep, he's
Oh,
a
he's been
Christian
quiet most of
justified
the
by
day.
faith,
He
Tom.
just
There
said a
are
few
no
things.
rules. Whatever he feels, it's what's right and justified because he's justified by faith. No
According to you
rules
people,
apply.
not me.
Oh yeah, you missed out where we asked him like what is like the standard, and he said you guys care too much about rules, and we're like, what do you mean? That's like your
Exactly.
entire theory. And then he said that, well, basically the things. Well, I'm trying to remember the exact words. You remember? But it had to do with basically that what he does is justified. No matter what he does
That's a
is
lie,
justified.
sir. I didn't say what I
No,
do is
that is
justified,
Andricus. Can
sir.
you back me up here?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what he said. It says he referred to the verses
In
where Jesus
fact,
said,
what I
"Why are you
said is
guys so
we are
why are you
not
guys so worried
justified by
about
the deeds of
rules?
the law.
I'm justified faith in the Spirit. So therefore, whatever I feel I should do is what I should do. It's the right thing because I'm justified by
Oh,
faith."
John, do you
that's
think
a
you've
life in
sinned?
the pit of hell, sir.
Do you
That's
think
not what I
you've
said
do you
at
think
all.
you've sinned, John? Do you think you've sinned, John, by not
Well,
marrying
hold
your
on, hold
your
on, hold
girlfriend?
on,
Actually,
hold
that
on. If he
representation
disagrees with my
is
statement that I made, I'd
absolutely
like
not
to
what I
know
said.
by
Just
what
just to
virtue,
let you know.
by virtue of
And
what, in
anyone
virtue
who
of what,
claims
It
that
was with
that
you of
is
what
what I'm
standard.
saying
in
is
virtue of
preaching a
what
false
standard do you
gospel.
disagree with me, sir?
Yeah, what you're trying to imply is a false gospel, and I certainly am not
By
preaching a
by
false
virtue of what
gospel. What you
standard do
guys
you disagree with
represented
me, sir?
is nothing what I said according to Romans 3:20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Nothing what you said there is represented what I said.
And what standard stands in opposition to what I said, sir?
You're trying to claim that anything can be done and we're justified, or
That's your
justified to
position, sir.
do sin is what you're trying to imply. The Bible doesn't say that.
No, you said as a Christian you could not feel to do something out of line with I don't know what standard because you said the rules
I
don't
also
matter.
did not say that, sir.
Yes,
Paul's
you
very
did.
clear about doing the things that he does not desire to do or even feel, right? And so you're misrepresenting Scripture once
So
again.
what's the standards by which you must operate by to
Now you're
know that
asking
you're not
questions
out of line with
representing
the
ignorance.
standard?
You made a claim. You're called on that claim. Then you said, then what? Rather than establishing in support of your claim, which was given a reason for why it is false,
You said the rules don't
rather than
apply, sir.
substances
It's
you're
whatever you
applying
feel
in
as a
support of your
justified by
claim,
faith Christian.
you're just asking stupid
Everybody in the
questions.
room
Well,
heard
then
you
what is
say it,
it?
John.
And you've been
Everybody in the
told what
room
it
heard
is.
you say it.
You've
So
already
if the
been
rules
told what
don't
it
matter,
is.
if the rules don't matter, and it's just your feelings about what you do, is your feelings
Yeah,
the
I'm already
standard?
done with the conversation.
Are your feelings the standard, John?
About right. It's about right.
The
Well, I
rules
mean,
matter
like,
and they don't matter simultaneously. It's dialetheism, more dialetheism.
Is there
John, are
audio
you
evidence that he said that?
Now, what does
Yeah.
matter is one's
Yeah, those are
propositional
clean.
attitude toward Christ, right?
Can we
That's
get the
what
clip?
matters.
I'll
Now,
send
I
this.
wouldn't call it a feeling, but I would call it an attitude, certainly.
John, are you
John, do you
more
think you've
accepting of
sinned?
transgenders now that you've pretty much adopted uh like the sort of stance of identity?
Trans marriage.
Yeah. You're a trans husband. So do you are you more sympathetic to transgenders now?
Oh no, not at all.
You're not, despite being a trans husband?
No, I have my own standards.
Isn't that yeah, you're a
Oh, what
trans
are those, John?
husband.
What's the
Your own
standard to be
stand.
married, John?
Yeah,
This
your
is
own.
a
Yeah,
question
Your
we've been asking him all
my
day. What's the
standard
standard
is
to be
not just
married?
mere identity.
Yeah, what is it?
your own personal
Certainly
standard,
not
John.
family resemblance either.
You're
Yeah, what
setting
is it?
yourself up as God.
My only point was to point out to people who do accept identity and family resemblance. That's all I was doing.
Look, what is
See, I
the
knew
standard?
that because when he said it, I knew he said, if I were to say, and that's why I kept asking the point, why do you say that, John? Because I knew he wasn't saying that. And I knew he
Yeah,
was
we
going to
all know
circle
that.
back.
We all know that. That's
Yeah,
the issue. But what,
dumbass.
John? Give us the standard. John, give us the standard then.
And so if I were to say my wife, right? That's sufficient for you, is it not, people?
We're
Now
talking
he's
about
Sufficient.
doing
your
external
standard.
critique on
It would be
himself.
a lie, wouldn't it, John? It'd be
John,
a
is
lie,
this
wouldn't it, John?
a joke, John?
It'd be
John, what's your
sufficient for
standard to be married?
us, but it wouldn't be sufficient for your own standards. That's what
He's
you're pointing
applying
out.
our standard to Christianity. He's saying our standard is now Christian.
So I'll tell
John,
you what, if
do you
it's
think you
sufficient
sinned,
for
John?
your standards, well then we have nothing more to say, do we?
John, what's your standard?
Whatever he feels is right. There is no external standard. Thank you, John.
He's married because of his fee fees, is what he's saying.
Yep.
John, are you justified by my standard?
No one is declared righteous by the obedience to the law, sir. No one.
John is a moral anti-realist.
So John's justified by his faith in Christ. Is that right, John? So everything you do.
Wow. That's
So, what
so
does it mean
profound, Bina. That is
under
correct.
your standard? What is it to be married?
Thanks, John.
He's never going to answer that question.
Never in a million years he's going to answer that question.
This is pathetic, John. This is the best you've come up with all day? You've had like almost a whole
No.
day to come up with something.
Romans 3:21 is foundational, but now a righteousness apart from the law is being revealed, right? And that's by faith in Christ.
What is
There
that
it
even?
is.
What is
His
that?
faith in Christ reveals to him whatever is right. So whatever he feels is right, the law be damned, the rules be damned. Whatever he feels is what's right. No
He's saying,
external.
it sounds like he's saying he is going against the law. He is going against the commandments by not being married, but he's justified in doing so. That sounds like what he's saying.
Exactly.
Anyone want to understand what I'm saying? They just need to read for themselves.
Is that what you're
Romans
saying, John?
20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
Bro, is that what
We
you're
read
Yeah, I've
saying?
them
read
and we
them.
came back
And
at
we
you with it.
had Pa come in here. He said that you're misinterpreting them. And you should stop doing that.
Oh yeah, Paul was definitely clueless about what it was saying, but that's understandable. He's Roman Catholic,
We need to get some
and
of the
I don't even
Facebook
know
guys
how
over
long.
here.
What 2 months he's Roman Catholic? I mean,
You
I don't even.
referencing 320 again? What does that have to do with?
Yeah, this is weird. James and Matt, you guys just gonna let this man sit there and tell us that he can break God's law and he's justified in doing so?
It's
John Lee's the
pathetic when you
first.
claim to be a former Christian and ask these type of stupid questions, Jovan.
Well, John keeping to the law by his
I
own
mean,
word
you have
isn't
Bina
going to
who's
get him to heaven,
understanding
right?
it.
Yeah, John just thinks that if he like sticks to the law, I mean, I could be wrong here, then that's in a sense him doing that by his own works, which is obviously not how he's saved through Jesus Christ. He's saved through faith. So whatever he does is righteous.
But it's not even about being saved, which is correct, Bina, but declared righteous.
Whatever,
That's the point.
whatever you
Do you
do
agree
is
with that?
righteous.
Do you agree with that? Whatever you do is righteous?
Of course he does. He's
Well,
committed to
wait.
that.
Let him answer.
And then did you hear what these people who want to twist what it's saying? So does that mean that anything you do, you're
That's what
declared
Bina
righteous?
just said. Bina
Of
just
course,
said
that's
that, and
not
you
what
said that's right, Bina.
Of course,
I'm sorry, I'm
that's
probably
not
really
what
loud.
it's saying.
You're extremely loud.
It doesn't. That question does not follow from what has been said.
But that's what Bina said, and you said you agreed.
No,
Yeah,
that's not what
isn't
Bina said. I heard
yeah,
what he said. He's correct.
Dude, are you deaf?
Say it again, Bina.
Bina, say it again.
Yo, John, I
Exactly.
identify. John, I
Exactly
identify
the
as a
same.
Christian, bro. I identify as a Christian. Do you accept me?
Yeah.
Well, I would think other atheists, according to their standard, would, Tom.
That's
But
you.
that's not what we're talking about.
They would accept you being a Christian by your mere
Why do you
identity,
keep moving into an external critique when
just
we're
as
talking
much as
about
a
your
person
views,
would
man? What are you
identify as a
doing?
woman, or just as much as another man might identify as a husband.
No, we would have an agreed upon standard as to what the fact of the matter is, right? There's at least some necessary components, like you have to believe in the life,
Fact
death,
of
and
the
resurrection
matter
of Jesus
about
Christ.
there's no fact of the matter about Christian or woman or husband in your people's
You have
eyes.
to be a follower of Christ. You have to believe in
Wait,
Jesus.
is there a fact of matter in your view, John? John, is there a fact of
Nothing
the
till
matter about
you're
these things in
accepted.
your view? Hello?
nothing to do with your willingness.
Major John, are you there? Can you hear me, Major John?
His view's not relevant.
But John, you understand that we're critiquing whether you're consistent with your own standard.
Ironic, because that's what I thought I was doing.
Well, you can do that, but it's just not going to help you be consistent in your own view.
So
Right.
it would be the case that if somebody
It's not going to be. You're not going to be addressing anything.
John, if someone identifies as a husband, then you're accepting of that identity. Is this correct, sir?
He will never talk about his own view.
Depends who you ask. Doesn't matter. It depends who you ask. How's that going to help you demonstrate that your view is consistent?
Yeah, we accept you as a trans husband. Sure.
I don't know. I don't know if I would, but whatever.
I accept that he's like a husband.
Yeah, when he says he's exactly. Hades got it right. He's when I say he's a trans husband, that means he identifies as one. Functionally, his role with this particular person is that of typically a husband, according to society or cultural norms. He feels like he is one. Yeah, that's all he means, and so I accept him as a trans husband. Yeah. It's a fact it's a fact that he is not legally married. It's a fact that the state or the government or any governing body does not recognize him as being married or a husband. It's a fact that he isn't married by those standards, but his feels tell him that he is, in a sense, a husband, and I'm okay with that sense.
Yeah, and if John, if you said to us, look, I'd really appreciate it if you referred to the woman I'm shacking up with and fornicating with as my wife, because I consider her my wife, I think we would agree.
I'm thinking about in my bio putting husband/married. What do you think about that? And demand to be identified.
Did you hear? Look, I just said, look, if it really matters to you.
If I did that, Haiti, would you identify as me?
I love how John just doesn't listen to anything anyone says. It's amazing. I don't think he listened to you. He was just thinking about his little bon mot, right?
I think you're just amazing.
Husband/married, you people would be.
It's very tiresome talking to someone who is just thinking about the next thing they're going to say.
This person has had conversations. John has had conversations with me where he told me that transgender people are delusional, right? Multiple times. You still have that belief,
he's delusional.
Do you not?
All I'm asking is if I put husband/married, would you guys be accepting of that claimed identity? That's all I asked.
He also said before that he's never said that ever. He's never said they're delusional.
You won't give us your standard, John.
Oh,
so
I thought Tom already squashed this. I thought he already said that he would.
I do have tape of that. So if he wants to put a bounty on that one, I'll be glad to collect another 100 from him.
His exact words were never.
No. I know he's doing a dodge. He's doing a thing. What he means is he's never called it to their face. Like he's never called like Bill delusional, right? Bill, Mr. Trans person. He's never done that. That's what he means when he says I've never called anyone delusional.
That's absolutely correct, Haiti.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Haiti. You did it. You solved the riddle.
Saying you, Haiti, you're living in sin, or
however, you have said.
I don't make these kind of comments.
Yeah, shut up. You have said in general that there is a delusion that trans people are, operating under. You've said that loads of times.
Something like in scripture, if you do not repent of your sins, you will go to hell. I mean, I will definitely say something like that.
No, you've said trans people are delusional because we had this hours of debate when we were asking you to tell us what the delusion is. Remember? Because you said there was a delusion.
I don't recall saying trans people are delusional, but I do remember saying that the view of transgender in the sense of believing one is a woman is a delusion. I have said that, sure.
Right. Guess what? Believing you're married is a delusion when you're not.
Mic drop.
You're trans married. Look, we'll accept you because we're like nicer than you are. And we'll just say, well, he fulfills most of the properties of being married. He
Right.
acts like a husband, etc.
Right.
We're good like that.
Excellent.
But you, sir.
So is that biblical, John? It's just whatever we think is acceptable. Is that consistent?
No,
with
I'm saying that if you're willing to
biblical
accept that I'm married,
law?
that I'm a husband, that I have a wife,
No.
if you're willing to accept all of those things, then I'm cool with that.
When nobody
Now,
said
I
they
don't give a shit
accepted
what you're
that.
cool
now
with.
there's a
You're not
separate
cool.
question. Hang on. There's a separate question as to whether I, according to my own standards, are being consistent, right? That's a separate question.
You are not being
Jack, do you see
consistent.
how he's just
that's
is
well, let's
do you
just
see
ask.
this-
Let's just ask him. Does he
Sean,
think
you're
he
like
is?
super loud, man. If there's any, like, move the microwave or something like that. You're peaking actually. Jack, do you see how super dishonesty he's being right now? Have you see like the rate of equivocation and like going back and forth between them is so fast. It's almost hard to keep up with.
I'm just glad to have established the former.
Well, there are a number
the
of
latter
issues
is a
here.
further conversation. I agree.
The three issues that interest me, right? First of all, we haven't gotten an answer to the question of what God's standard for marriage is and whether John has met that, right?
That's my only point, Jack, that we haven't gotten there yet.
Well, we're trying to. And look, the bottleneck for us getting there is not us, John. It's you.
Yes, that's one issue. Second issue for me is that, you know, he and Johnny must have worked something out in their little private room as like, hey, this is what we're gonna go with, right? they must have like.
You mean like a little war room, Jack?
Yeah, you must have like come up with some rationalization, but for some reason I'm not clear on what that is. It's not like you were like. It's not like you've come in with this, you know, new solution to the problem.
Or give us too much credit, Jack.
Well, it's hard to understand what. It's hard to understand you leaving that meeting without having come to a conclusion about like what the party line is on this, you know. So
well,
that's the second
Jack,
issue.
I mean, Jack, Johnny
and the third one.
Go ahead.
But by the way, Johnny, John, I want you to know that I'm actually on your side on this relative to Silver Star. Like Silver Star, casting, moralizing, sanctimonious garbage, right? And I was like, I would side with John Lee against this guy, you know, under any circumstance. I mean, he's just so horrible.
Well, we all are, right? That's just comedy.
Yeah, it was comedy. It was funny, but because this whole thing is very funny. This has come out. I was just absolutely disgusted listening to him yesterday. Could barely restrain myself. But
that's
anyway,
just
the third
that's
point
just
is,
the Christian position, though. I mean, that's you know.
He's your go-to
but
Christian guy, people. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean,
on their view, there isn't this you don't just simply identify as married. I mean, it's...
Well, that actually relates to the third issue, which is I have to admit I'm confused by the whole concept of marriage on Protestantism, because they don't have sacraments, right? Or at least not the kind of Protestant
that's actually a good
John
point,
is.
Jack. Marriage is not a sacrament.
Wait, it is. Marriage is like one of the two sacraments that Protestants accept, isn't it?
Well, it depends on which Protestants
You're
you
wrong,
mean. Like,
sir.
within the Reformation, there were certain Protestant
baptism and communion are the only
groups.
two sacraments that Protestants have, sir.
That's it. Baptism and communion. So they do accept sacraments.
Yeah, all right. Well, maybe not all of them, but yeah, some of them do. But in any case, it's not going to be marriage, right? So, like, what does it really mean for a Protestant for somebody to be married, right? Because it doesn't seem like it's going to be some kind of legal authority
Well,
that's going to...
They
Daniel
could
read
just
it
think it's
out.
like a moral precept, like anything else they believe.
No,
I'm just saying, like, why doesn't it amount to something as simple as a kind of mutual commitment that's sincerely made, right?
Well, John could tell us that, don't you think?
No, I
Daniel.
agree. That's
So I
another.
can. I don't mind that conversation. Just to let you guys know, I don't mind that conversation. My interest is that you guys, if you guys are willing to accept my claimed identity as a husband, as someone married, and my
Look, John. Look.
wife,
The
if you're
look. Here's the
accepting of
deal,
all of
right?
these terms, I'm
Shut up.
cool
Shut up.
with
Shut up.
that.
Shut up. Your marriage certificate is like the biological sex, right? It's like the chromosomes, right? So you're not married, and the trans person is not the biological sex, right? But you certainly act as though you're married, right? And you feel as though you're married.
Well, I was asked by Delano,
right?
Are you
Why is
legally
he
married?
fucking
I
interrupting me?
told him no,
Look,
lady.
you're not right. Look, you're not legally married, and this trans woman does not have the biological sex of a woman, right? That's the common property.
So
You
did
see
you
the
lie when
parallel.
you
Thank
told us
you.
you were legally married?
Yeah.
Was that a lie then?
However, this is kind of like a trans person not telling you until you like have sex with them, and then they sort of mention it, and then you're like, you might have told me earlier. This is how we're feeling about you right now. You let us think you're legally married, right? That is the fucking problem. I don't care about the rest so much, apart from the fact that you're a massive hypocrite. But you lied.
So kind of like the prostitute who said, "I'm a woman," and
Yeah, and then he
something like
gets
that.
a shock when he sees a big dick between the legs. Yeah, might have thought to mention that. Yeah.
Was James as tired in that private room?
Yes.
Because
But
it seems to
honestly,
me,
like, I think we could delve
James
deeper into
doesn't
this.
have a lot of loyalty to John Lee. So my guess is that he could be prized.
He was actually very charitable.
Yeah, he was in there.
Jack, just to let you know.
But we could even
I
just
believe you.
we could even just deny the analogy, right? Just like when you say things like, "Oh, well, can I identify as a helicopter?" and everyone's like, "That's dumb." We could just do that for your analogy too, if we wanted to be really uncharitable. Because we're talking about a legal thing. And that's a much stronger fact of the matter than some like question of biology, right? And gender, and that's all murky.
Do you think every
You're
woman?
either married or you're not, John. You either have a marriage certificate from the state of California or you don't.
Okay, so just out of curiosity, hey, do you think every woman is obligated to disclose whether they're a biological male or female?
I think if they have a dick, yeah, that would be useful information. But as I said, right, I think we should just say this stupid analogy is not going to fly. Because all you're going to do is talk about trans people in a fucking ugly way, right? And then we're just going to get mad at you about that.
Well, of course, he's just
and we're
using
not.
this.
We're not going to talk about the fact that you're a lying fornicator.
Well, it's just a tactic, right? He's just sort of turning. It's just like what Matt Adams does, I'm just going to use this against you.
Let's just stop being charitable and remind him of the fact that he lied for us for a year. He lied to his church elders, and he's got no fucking excuse.
Well, but
and he didn't even love his wife enough to put a ring on it.
But he's probably got like a Mark Thomas way of rationalizing all of this, right?
Elders, do your church elders know? Hey, do your church elders know? Do your church elders know you're not legally married? Do your church elders know you're not legally married?
See, and that's another
I'm
issue.
I'm just interested in the analogy. So
no,
it's
yeah, you know what?
Like anybody believes that.
I'm just interested in dodging the question.
Yeah, this is just some bullshit deflection.
To me, it's a purely A very interesting philosophical question has been raised here, and I'm interested in exploring that.
Do your church
But-
elders know you're not married legally? Do they know? Did you tell them?
But you know, this church elders thing kind of, I think, brings up another point in connection with, like, what does it mean to be married if you're a Protestant? It's like, I'm not even really clear on what the purpose of church is if you're a Protestant, right?
You're under
Like,
some sort of
you don't go to
authority.
a,
You
well,
have
I
to be under
understand that,
authority. That's the point.
but like, you don't, but what's the deal about him not going to church, for example? Right? Like, you don't receive communion at your church, right? They don't administer, they don't have a
Yeah, of
communion
course they do,
service.
Jack. All churches
Oh,
do.
they do? Oh, so there is a sacrament that you're not receiving.
Yeah, communion is a sacrament.
Do
Because
they
I
know you're
don't
not
think
married?
I think at Matt Adams' church he doesn't receive communion.
Wait, hold
Oh
on a
no,
second,
there's no
Haiti. Hold
churches
on a
that they don't
second.
have
I know
communion, Jack.
you're asking whether or not the elders know whether or not he's married, but you're kind of making it out to be an issue. But I'm sure that once John explains this whole identification thing and the transgender analogy, they're going to be completely fine with this, right? You know, in fact, hey.
Yeah.
You know, they're so fine with it. You know what? Take 2 communions. You want another wafer? Hey, have some more grape juice, you know?
You know,
It's pretty funny,
John
Jack. But
said,
actually, you know, my
John, that was
concern was
Tom.
what you guys were willing to
Shut
accept.
up. Do you know?
That's
Do your
really
church elders know
what I
you're
was
not
going.
legally married? Do they know
They
you're not legally
he
married? Are you
said,
letting them?
That's
Are you
says
letting
that's a
them
no.
think?
That's a no.
Think
said they
that's
never
your
asked
legal?
him.
What
Shut up,
Christians are
everyone!
willing to
God
accept
damn
is
it!
a whole different matter. Different matter.
He said they never asked him, right, John?
Right. So
They've never
yeah. So
asked
they
you.
see him with a woman. They assume it's his wife, and he doesn't correct them. That's what happened, right, John? They
Oh, did
probably
we ever?
said, "How's your wife?" And you said, "Oh, she's great. She's thank you for asking." Right? Never.
Did we ever figure out if he wears a? Does he wear a wedding ring? Does anybody know?
Do you refer to her as your wife when you're in church? Like, if you talk to a church elder, would you say, "Yeah, my wife and I," you know?
Do you think if like a person identifies as a
Dodge.
man goes into the
Send him,
men's
John,
restroom that they
Tom,
need to
Tom. We
identify
can't have
Not
this.
answering.
that they
We
have a
can't have
Not
this,
vagina?
no.
Unmarried
Just
clown.
ignore
Look, if
everything
he's gonna
Sort
pull
of
this shit, send him down.
No, don't send him down.
Yeah, but there's like
No,
100
because
people
what's
on
the
YouTube
point?
watching this display of dishonesty. I mean, I love
Thanks
it.
for telling
Oh,
me.
you're
I
streaming?
didn't know
You're
that.
streaming this?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah, this
streaming?
is great.
Oh, that's...
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
people
just
need to
an
hear
internal
this.
critique I'm attempting.
Hey, John, I'll give you this. I'll give you this. Right? If you want to have an honest conversation
Yeah, I mean,
about trans people,
my
about
position as a
transgender, John, we
Christian
can do
is
that later.
fair,
We
but
do that later,
I'm
John.
just
I'll
trying
have
to
that
ask questions on your
conversation with
side.
you.
Hey, YouTube
No, look,
out
I'll
there.
have that conversation with you. I'll have
John
that
Lee likes to
conversation with you.
dodge questions.
Right, yeah.
That's what
I
he
think
does.
you
He
guys are
dodges.
dodging questions, to be honest.
Yeah, we're dodging questions, Johnny. That's it.
What's the standard of
I
marriage
sense
we
a
should
few
adhere to,
scorpions
John?
coming.
What's the standard of marriage we should adhere to, John?
I actually
YouTube, John Lee
already
is
acknowledged
also
that
a
it's
clown.
legitimate to ask me about my views on certain things.
This is the best that he's come up with
you guys about
after a whole
your
day.
willingness to accept certain identities. That's all.
Hit him with a trans
John,
thing. That'll distract him.
how you know how they had the document.
You're
I
breaking
mean,
up.
I would like to explore what Haiti said about disclosure, about
I'd like
the
you to
biological.
tell me if you lied to your
legal.
church elders. I would like you to tell me if you're lying to church elders when they ask you, "Where's your wife today?" and you say, "Oh, she's at home," and you know they mean legal wife. Think that's a lie?
Depends on if you say she and you know that the person's a biological.
Oh
him.
my God.
No,
John,
I
I have
can
a
see
question.
like the guy in, on Sunday morning, full robes and everything, and John pulls him aside and like, we get this sort of like little sneak peek of the conversation. It's something like, no, but you don't understand. See, like, these transgenders, right? They identify, and so by their standard, I am, and I can just see him head nodding, saying like, you know what, John? Yeah, you know what? You convinced me. You're right. This is cool. This is fine. All this is
But I think
fine.
my point is just such that I identify not only by feelies, as Tom is saying, but by some sort of substantive standard, right? Well,
which you have
then,
yet to
well,
reveal.
which I agree, Jane, right? But my point is this, okay? That if it's the case that establishes according to my standards, and so there's justification according to my standards, right? Then my standards is irrelevant because my claimed identity, right, which you guys I would think would be accepting of someone's claimed identity, right? Not according to my standards, but according to yours.
Internal, external, internal, external, internal, external.
Yeah. So did you
Yeah, we
lie to your
already
partner
said
or not?
we already said that we would accept it according to our standards. So I don't know why you
Yeah.
keep harping
There you
on it.
go. And so there you
But
go.
we would be very clear
So we don't need to
that
go
you
any
are
further, do we?
not. No, listen, you are
No,
not
the whole
legally
point was
married.
that you're being a hypocrite.
You are not legally married. You simply consider yourself married with your feelings.
I got a question.
So are you
Can
going to
anyone
address
hear me?
my partner as my wife?
Depends. Depends on how much of a jerk you're going to be.
Are you going to address me as a husband and someone who's married?
No. No.
Nope, you're not a
Look,
husband.
if like
That sounds kind of odd
look,
to me if you're not willing to do that.
if you were in good standing in our community, perhaps, right?
Is
Right
that the
now,
basis? So if Snugs was not
right?
in good
Yeah,
standing with me, I have the right
yeah,
to. Oh,
yeah. I could be.
really?
Yeah, you know why? Because I could feel like being a dick to you, right? Which I wouldn't be to someone else,
Is
but it
that
would
what
be.
you'd be doing
Yeah,
if you didn't recognize me as a
yeah.
husband?
I think it'd be pretty rude if I called your wife your whore. Yeah.
Well, isn't that
Would
what
that not
people
be
have been
rude of me?
saying?
Would
I've
that
heard
be
words
rude of
like
me?
whore and concubine
Would
and
that
some
be
other
rude?
words,
Yeah.
Haiti.
Yeah, because we're pissed off at you. Do you know why? Do you know why?
That's not very nice to call my.
Why are
I
we
don't know what
pissed off?
she's done to you people.
Shut the fuck up. Why are we pissed off with you? Do you even know? Here's a chance to have some
Wait, you
self-awareness.
want to call my wife names
Why?
because you're
No,
mad
I
at
said.
me? That doesn't make sense, Haiti.
Okay, John's trolling now. YouTube, this is how John trolls. Just to let you know.
I had a
said it
question to
would be
John
rude.
about.
Hey,
I
I am
don't
still
think whatever the
talking.
case is, my wife
I am
deserves to be
still
called a whore,
talking.
Haiti.
Get him,
Come
Haiti.
on.
I said it would be rude to call her that. That is what I said. You liar. YouTube, he lies all the time.
Well, okay, then that's
He
I
lies
have
fine.
like
a
a
But
rag.
you
question.
know your peers have been.
Do you know why we're mad at you, John Lee?
Well, I just know that your peers have been calling me
Do
that. I
you
don't.
know why we're mad at you? Such that we
Well,
might
I could
want to
see
be
you're
rude
mad
to
by
you.
muting me right now. Sure.
Do you know why we're mad at you?
I think the claim is that you feel deceived because I identify as a husband and so forth.
No, we feel deceived because you let us think you were legally married when you weren't.
I have a question for John about his church.
I don't think I've
Yeah, go
ever.
ahead, man. Go ahead, man.
Usually, when you join a church, generally speaking, you'll meet with the pastor, and usually he'll want to meet the family and things of that nature. And I was wondering, I know John said he was a member of the Presbyterian church, some Presbyterian church, or something at one point, and I was just wondering if he met with the pastor, and if so, did he meet the whole family, and did John introduce her as his wife, and how that went?
Yeah, that's how it went, Matt.
So you lied to their face?
I don't know what gives you the basis to say that.
Because he just said that we would introduce her as your wife, and you said, yes, that's how it went, Matt.
I still introduce her
But
as my wife.
I
So
mean,
you're
but would
lying
you
to them actively and without
does that
repentance.
That
does
would
that
be
agree
your
with the
claim.
rules of the Presbyterian church there that you joined?
Are you legally married, John?
Oh, now we're going into the biological legal thing again.
Look, it's best if you let Matt handle this because, like, otherwise, he's just gonna like I mean, it's like, you know, going against a pre-supper. Like, you're gonna have to do all the, like, how can you even logic? But if you just have another Christian do it, you can just completely bypass all that.
I just don't think you guys have established in any way whatsoever there's a sort of a misrepresentation when
Go
you
ahead,
guys are
Matt. Keep
actually
going, Matt.
acknowledging, you know,
Go ahead, Matt.
and now you want to mute
what I
me
was
again. Okay.
what I was saying is, generally speaking, when you join a church, and I think Silver Star last night was talking about the bylaws. I don't know what, as far as membership is required in a Presbyterian church. Um, I'm not a member there, but I know there's certain things that when you join, you kind of are agreeing to. And based on what Daniel was reading last night, I think one of those is that, you're kind of representing the Christian community in the Presbyterian church and kind of the rules and kind of what's laid out in society as far as marriage. He was kind of reading that off. So I was just curious to see if, when John introduced her as his wife, did he realize that under under those rules, that was a little bit of a misrepresentation?
A little bit.
Well,
Presbyterians require legal
Or
marriage,
maybe a lot. I don't know.
recognized marriage.
yeah. Interestingly enough, Matt, my wife is not a member of the church, whereas I am, and so that's
Oh, really?
right.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm still,
Oh,
would
you
you
guys,
have
here's the
been
plot
agreeing to
twist. The
those rules
reason
as
why
well?
So I think there's
the reason why
a misunderstanding on your part,
John
Matt.
is a member of the church and his wife is not a member of the church is that John identifies as a husband, but his wife does not identify as a wife, so she can't
No,
be
what I
in.
was saying was that I think you have a misunderstanding in terms of when I interviewed to be a member, when I talked to them. I went alone, Matt, just to let you know.
Oh.
Oh, I thought you did say you introduced her as your
Wait,
wife.
I did
Yeah, you
introduce her
did.
as my wife, Matt. Yes.
liar.
Yeah, so you lied to them.
No, that's what you keep saying.
What do you think they thought you meant,
Are you
John?
legally married to her?
The
Lie.
question is,
Are you married to
know.
them? Are you married to her in a church? Did you have a church service that I'm unaware of?
They are not legally married.
Yeah,
Did
I
you have a
already
church
answered that
service?
question, so I don't
Did
know
you
why
have a
you're
church
repeating the
service?
question.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
didn't have a church service and you're not legally married, so in no way are you actually married.
not according
So
to
this
you
is
people.
why it would be a lie, John, is because when that pastor asked you that question, there's a sense
No,
in
he didn't
which
ask me. Uh, I introduced her as my
So it
wife.
was a needless lie. You didn't even have to lie, but you did anyway.
He probably
Well, like
did,
again,
otherwise
that's what
they
you're
would
saying.
ask. Do you think the pastor understood you meant because you committed and you've been together a long time? You think that's what he meant? What he thought you
I
meant
do
when you
know
said
this,
wife?
okay?
Hey, will you answer my question? That's what the pastor thought. Or do you think the pastor thought you were legally married to her?
Yeah, I introduce
Lie!
her as my
You,
wife all the time.
Would
well, is that an
I
answer
still refer to her as my wife.
wait? Here's a
to what
question.
I asked you?
Do you have a problem continuing to identify her as my wife?
Wait, here's a
Oh
question.
my
Pastor,
god.
think when you said this is my wife that you were legally married.
Yeah, I didn't even put that into consideration.
yeah, that's a
Bullshit.
So
lie from the
answer the
pits of
I
question.
just
You can
hell.
never
still answer the fucking
I just
question. I
never
don't get it.
thought about it.
Yeah, that's a lie.
Wait, did
That's a
what
lie.
would John would Zeitzen Bruggencate think that you were married?
I don't know. You might want to ask him.
John, in the Southern
Mark
Baptist Church I
Dawkins
grew up
think you married?
in the Southern Baptist Church I grew up in, they would regularly deny membership to couples trying to join the church because they did not have legal marriage status, and they would tell them that they needed to get that straightened out in the eyes of God, so that they weren't in any danger. So, are you telling me that your
Yeah,
Calvinistic
we didn't
church? Are
apply the
you
couple
telling
thing.
me that your Calvinistic church is different on this standard?
No, I'm telling you that we did not apply as a couple.
Huh, huh.
That doesn't
Wow.
matter though.
Jesus. So if you had, is that why you didn't? Because you knew they'd be more probing about your relationship?
Yeah, but I mean, not applying as a couple seems irrelevant to me because it's still that you yourself are applying and you yourself are agreeing to those standards and you yourself are representing yourself as married. And that's where it seems like, and maybe you weren't thinking about it, I don't know, but that's where it
Oh,
seems
come
like
on.
there
Well,
would be a
no, I
little bit
wasn't
of
thinking
He
about it,
dishonesty.
wasn't
Matt.
thinking
Get him,
about it.
Matt.
It just slipped his
Because
mind, you know.
Get him, Matt.
and it may be that you don't necessarily agree with that stance, but you should have just said, well, I don't agree with this position here. I've been with her for 19 years or whatever it was. I consider her my wife. We're just not legally married. And then let them see what they think about it. But it does
Matt,
seem like if you kept that quiet,
Matt,
that
do you
seems a
remember
bit.
when Fro took the Shahada, and later on he
He's
says,
dodging,
"I
Matt.
didn't sign up for that."
He's
Remember that, Matt?
dodging, Matt. He's dodging,
That's
Matt.
not saying that's what's
Here's
going on
Chris,
here.
another Reformed
But they're
Calvinist. Has he heard? Does he approve of this? What does he think?
Well, I think Chris would make me a good person to ask about this because I do think that that's problematic. Whether she was joining the church or not, you were still representing yourself as married, and a lot of churches do want you to be legally married in regards to that, or some sort of religious ceremony, and some people might consider that as just living in sin or shacking up or whatever.
So when my wife and I got married, we had a lovely church service in a tiny chapel with stained glass windows. It was all very lovely. And I went down to the little clerk of the court and we got a marriage license and the preacher signed it and right there, right after the ceremony.
Congrats
So,
to you. Sounds beautiful. Do you think John Lee's married?
I mean, John Lee, did you have a church service and go down to the clerk of the court and go
No, he
get
did not.
your marriage license?
I did not, Chris.
None of the above.
Okay, why?
Well, that's a question many people ask.
What? That's not an answer. You're killing me.
Why do you do this? Well, many people ask that
just
question.
quiet, just quiet, just
What
be
a
quiet,
great
just
question.
silence, just silence.
I think the only thing I have to say in channeling my inner Haiti is "Oi!"
She doesn't say oi.
Is that at John Lee? I actually never say oi, but do you consider John Lee married?
No.
Do you think your church would consider married?
No, they would throw John Lee out in a heartbeat.
Wow.
So what was the answer to your question as to why they're not married, Chris?
I'm sorry?
You didn't get an answer to your question, bud. You just gonna give up?
Who? What now? Wait.
You asked why didn't you get married, and he didn't answer you. Are you just going to let him off the hook?
I mean, what answer could he possibly give me that's going to satisfy me?
The reason why he's not married.
I mean, I don't care at this point. If you're not
Oh,
legally
well, you
married,
cared when you asked it, right?
So it's
You
an
just don't care
important question,
anymore?
though.
the point being, John, you're not married, correct?
Yeah, he already affirmed that.
Well, he identifies as being married.
I've always considered myself married. Chris.
always married.
What does that like? I consider myself to be a hamburger. It doesn't make it true.
And get
What
this,
does that mean?
Chris. He doesn't think that he's sinning.
Yeah, I think, like I said in the chat, I'm out of even. I'm not even millennial, and I'm out of even.
Well,
Pretty devastating.
The worst part is if he went to his elders and said, "Hey, me and my wife weren't married. We want to get married," they would help him do it in the church. There's no reason for him not to get married.
I mean, I'm ordained. I can do it for you.
Yeah,
John.
I don't
Nice.
see why.
Do a Zoom call?
Why
we could do a Zoom call, and you could have all these.
Oh, nice. Here we go, John.
I love it. That's great.
What do you say, John? What do you say, John?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what. Perhaps this is an opportunity for my wife if you guys accept that language to have a discussion.
For
That's
the first
positive. That's a
time
move
after
forward.
20 years,
I would have said 20
Wait,
years
that's
ago.
I didn't
would have
expect
been
him to say
better
that.
opportunity.
That's interesting.
well,
That's positive.
for John, just having a discussion really just means like it's kind of like a formality to a no, usually, you know what I mean?
Well, that's what
But
you
whatever.
always say, and you've been wrong too many times every time you said that.
I don't think I've ever been wrong.
But John, come on. Like, you and I both know, like, not cool, man. Right?
In order, see,
I
this
could
is
barely hear you,
where
Chris. No.
see, when you're offering to get on in a Zoom call as an ordained minister and marry them, right? That's helpful, but what would really be helpful is to know the reason that's preventing him from getting married, which you abandoned because you deemed you didn't care. But that's.
I mean, I could probe into his personal life. I mean, but there's no excuse at this point. Like, I mean, it doesn't materially matter what the reason is. The point is that you're not.
Well, the idea is that if you're aware of whatever that reason is, then perhaps you can try to alleviate that reason, right?
But I mean,
what do you mean? But why are you like so resistant, like to like having additional information which would help you achieve what you think ought to happen? I don't understand the like this amount of resistance you're giving me.
What other choice am I going to have except for the fact that they need to get married? Like, I mean, it doesn't. To me, it doesn't. I mean, John, what is the reason? If you want to tell me the reason, knock yourself out. Like, I mean, I think the only solution at hand is that y'all get married and put the cohabitation to an end. Right? Am I incorrect? Am I taking crazy pills today?
No, look, no one's disputing that that's the solution and that they ought get married. The issue is what is preventing him from getting married. He has a reason for not getting married, and if you knew that reason, it might help you for him to get married. For example, if it's the case that John Lee is saying, hey, I can't get married, and the reason I can't get married is because I'm illiterate, I can't read or write, so then I can't sign the marriage documents. Well, if you had that knowledge, then you would be in a better position to help John Lee fix that problem so where he could sign a marriage document. But you're just saying, whatevs, I don't care what the reason is.
Yeah, but Tom, again, the solution is at hand. The reason
But
is
how?
secondary to the solution.
Oh my God, bro! How are you going to attain your solution if you don't know what's preventing your problem, right?
I mean, if
you're like going to a mechanic and you're saying, "Hey, the solution is to fix the car. What's the problem?" Right? Just
so John.
And the mechanic's just looking at you like, I gotta figure out what to fucking fix first, boss.
He's saying this, okay? You have a broken engine, right? He doesn't care how that engine got broken. He's saying you need to fix your car. That's what he's
agreeing with you.
Yeah, but he's also the person saying, so let's fix the problem. What just grab a screwdriver and we just start poking around? Like
I mean, if you were the problem, that seems a good solution. So John, what is the problem? Can you tell us, or do you wish to tell us?
Well, it seems the problem is we're not married, right? According to you.
Oh my God.
Okay, but oh my gosh, why? There's like this WHY word. I'm just blown away right now. I'm trying to process this. Help me.
Do you want to understand why, after almost 20 years, we still have not got married? That's what you want to know.
Correct.
Well, I think it's, to me, I can't speak for my wife, but I mean, for me, it's like
girlfriend,
wife, whatever. I mean,
it's not really a whatever. My wife would be highly offended if I called her.
Just don't interrupt. Just let him answer.
Well, I mean, in any case, well, I'm gonna let that go. But I think it has to do with maybe a sense of commitment, maybe fear of commitment. That's the best I could explain.
But you're committed to her, so I don't understand the fear.
Yeah, that's part of why you identify as a husband, is it not? Because you're committed to her?
Yeah.
Like I said,
No?
that's the best answer I could think of at the moment. I mean,
Oh
the
my
other
God.
the other answer would be, well, we didn't feel like it, both of us.
I don't think any woman in a committed relationship would be uninterested in you giving her a ring and asking her to marry you, John.
Then you don't know my wife.
Not always, but so you're not committed to your wife, John?
Well, I am. I've been faithful, for the entire time.
Yeah, but I think what he's saying is he could like theoretically just walk out the door, right? So it's not that commitment. It's not a legal commitment.
Well, look, are you not married in the eyes of God? In your eyes?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and that's what people seem to be wanting to reject.
Yeah, but that's a bigger commitment.
No, but that's what you seem to be. You say that you're not. You have fear of commitment, so you don't want to get married. So that would seem to indicate that you're not committed, which would seem to indicate that you're. How could you be married in the eyes of God to someone that you're not committed to? Like, what's the criteria there?
Maybe the way to phrase it is some sort of like formal commitment or something like that.
So you're afraid of just making a formal commitment?
Is God not formal enough? Like, I don't understand how that's not a formal commitment in the eyes of God. That seems like
this sounds like bullshit.
This is
a crazy commitment.
Permanent.
Like, it's for eternity.
I mean, tell me if I'm taking crazy pills.
The
When people
formal
say that like
commitment
they're
through the
afraid
state
of
only lasts
commitment,
until you
the
die.
thing that they're afraid of isn't like signing a piece of paper, right? That's not usually what people mean by like fear of commitment. Am I crazy?
No, I think he means fear of legalities. Maybe he doesn't want to give her half his money. Maybe he doesn't want to deal with the headache of a divorce. I think that's what it is.
Changes a power dynamic too inside of a couple. When you have this long and one's very dependent upon the other, once you give them more stability in their relationship, you risk that they have more power in the relationship.
Oh no, John's not. That almost sounds like vindictive. I mean, that almost. I mean, who am I kidding? That sounds exactly like John. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it was like when
that's
she
the best
has a
answer I
legal
have.
right to half of the money, right? Nobody's gonna tell her to get a McCafe instead of her Starbucks. She's gonna get the caramel macchiato venti with the triple shot extra whipped cream. Yeah, she's gonna get whatever the hell she wants, right? Because that's her money,
So,
right?
like,
Well, I think you guys are speculating irresponsibly.
So we were like,
what does
when
it
we had
take?
that fight,
I think it's pretty much
right?
nonsense what you guys
We
are
were
thinking
thinking,
now. But that's okay.
oh, maybe she'll leave him. Remember when he wouldn't apologize? Where's she gonna go? She's got nothing without him. He's holding it over her.
You don't know that, Haiti.
Oh, does she have her own money?
Well, I think the quote that you recently said is, "Do you really think that I would let a woman control the finances?" That's a recent quote of yours.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Oh, not like
No,
this.
you absolutely said that because I accused you of not wearing the pants financially and that your wife had control over your allowance. And you said in response to that, do you really think I would ever let a woman control my finances?
Yikes.
Yep, that's exactly what you said. You want to put a
so what is
bounty
that
on that,
supposed to
John?
mean?
John, you want to put a
If I
bounty on
did say
that?
that, what is that supposed to mean?
Oh boy. So I had to take a phone call from my wife, ironically enough. What did I miss?
By wife, I mean we don't know now.
He's
Do you mean
afraid
the
of
woman?
commitment.
You
He's afraid
a
of
marriage
commitment, but
certificate that
somehow
says
committed to
that
her under
you're
the
legal.
eyes of God.
Yeah, that's just not how that works. You guys want me? I can just PTR one of my wedding photos. They're quite lovely. We were
No,
very young.
we believe you. We believe you.
Why do you believe me and not John?
Because
Well, because he's
actually, to
admitted
be
to not
fair,
being married,
yeah,
so
he
we're
just
believing
let
him.
us assume it by calling this woman his wife, right? But when we asked him outright, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not legally married."
Do you guys know that Jane is my wife too? Oh wait,
Nice.
no.
What?
Even know.
I mean, even like the Mormons have a sort of ceremony, you know. It's like a wedding, even though obviously it's not legal because the polygamy ones. You know, they don't just shack up with someone and say, "Done deal." She still gets to wear a white dress and stuff.
John, the YouTube
Yeah, in
chat
the
is
Jewish
thoroughly
culture.
confused. Thoroughly confused. They seem to not really understand what your freaking problem is, bro.
Even in the Jewish culture, these covenants and these commitments were established by witnesses.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned earlier Ruth, when Boaz redeemed the piece of property from Naomi's husband, and one of the things for him to do it was Ruth would be his wife, and the nearest kinsman redeemer was going to redeem it. But when he actually realized that Ruth would be his wife, he did not want to redeem it. So Boaz was willing to do it, but it was done before witnesses and kind of established that way.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of truth to what Ninja Bem said. I think there's a lot of control issues. A lot of control issues. But surely, John, you would understand that your control issues don't take priority over what God wants you to do, right? You understand that, right? And just like you told me recently, John, if God wants you to do something, surely he's going to make it so that you have the ability to do it, right? Right, John? Isn't that what you told me? Are you saying that God hasn't given you the fortitude or the ability to marry this person?
Well, obviously not yet, Tom.
Oh, wow. Jeez. Well, if you die and you don't ever get married, it would be false that God provides that power to you, isn't it? But you said that God does. What are you gonna do? Like sign a piece of paper on your deathbed? Be married for the last second of your life, your final breath? Then said, "Oh, God gave me the power. I was right." What a joke.
Hey,
I think you're misconstruing our conversation as if to say that we're somehow in all things. God is making us perfect in this life
Well,
while
God
we're in
says
sinful
that
flesh.
he's not
That's
going to
not.
give you a
So
task
that's not
so
what I was
so
saying.
much that
Just to
you
let you
can't
know.
tolerate. He's always going to be asking you to do things within your ability. You know what that verse is, right, John?
Yeah, I mean clearly you already
Yeah.
misconstrued our conversation, but that's okay.
Yeah, is that oh
It
yeah?
happens.
Is that what you think? Okay.
so here's my new PTR. I realize the photo's 26 years old. Sorry.
Well, I mean, fear of commitment, huh? But you are committed currently, right? And that's part of the reason why you identify as a husband? Interesting. Say you identify as a husband
John,
because you have the traits of a
you're just gonna.
husband, like commitment, but what's keeping you from getting married is you don't want to commit. Interesting. Very interesting. Interesting, John. Very interesting.
Just take the L on this one. Just take the L on this one.
Yeah, I'm not trying to win, Chris.
You're not trying to win.
Okay. So are you gonna fix it? Like, I mean, I genuinely want to know. I'm like genuinely concerned.
Well, I'll tell you what. There was a time when I've thought about it over the years, or times, I should say, and I haven't thought about it for a long time, a very long time. And so maybe it's time to revisit that consideration. It's about the best I could offer.
Revisit it. I mean, go take a look at my PTR. Maybe that'll inspire you.
Every time I've heard John say that he's going to revisit it or consider it or I'll think about it, that's basically his way of saying no.
Yeah, and every time you said that, you've been proven wrong.
Been right every time.
Wait a minute.
Every time.
How many of you pagans are actually married?
I'll give you two examples.
I know Hades married.
I'll give you two
That's
examples.
right. 20 years.
When I said I would consider calling Matt Dillahunty for the second time, you said, "Oh no, he's not going to do it." I did.
No, I had to twist your arm. I made that happen, John. I did that.
You want to overtalk
I did that.
You know you're proven wrong. At least in those, you're very
John. I made that happen, not you.
He means no.
Took Chris Raw and 24 hours of it for you to finally be honest, John.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm just pointing out that you declare these things very nonsense. When people listen, when I used to do business deals and they tell me they're going to think about it, I take their word for it that they're going to think about it.
Yeah, well,
I know nothing's going to happen, dude. You're not doing anything. Well, you think you're fooling me with your consideration? Get out of here.
Who else is married?
And I'll even say this, Tom. I'm really don't have you in mind, certainly in your comments, whether I'm going to do something or not. And what Chris said with this PTR, yes, Chris, it did. It was beautiful. I loved your picture, right? And your wife all dressed up as the way she was. It wasn't even plain. It's very extravagant to a sense. And so, yeah, these are my considerations, Tom. Not your stupid comments.
See, and the whole thing is like we were dirt poor and 23 and 24 years old. My wife was 23, I was 24, but we had a church body that let us have the facility for free. My wife's dress was $100. Our rings were from my aunt, who gave us a wedding ring that we then had reset, and the diamond reset into a antique setting, and we paid for that by selling off the other diamonds in her ring that she gave us. I mean, there's ways. I mean, it's not a money issue. It wasn't, I mean, we did it. I'm just flummoxed. I'm honestly flummoxed.
Would you say you're disappointed?
Yeah. I'm kind of upset, actually.
Wow.
Everybody else, PTR your wedding pictures, I guess. I'd love to see Hades' wedding pictures. I'll bet they're beautiful.
It's right there.
I mean, I certainly don't think my situation is unique. Not that I'm trying to justify it.
Chris, they're not digital because, like, I got married when dinosaurs were still walking around with human beings.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the stone you inscribed them on.
Right?
We actually,
me and Haiti.
Our honeymoon car was actually a dinosaur that we rode away on.
Damn, Haiti, how did you have a
pterodactyl?
Does anybody want to make me a bet that like you could set a time frame whether or not John Lee gets married? I'll take you up on that bet. I'm of course going to take the negative position. You want action? No,
Really?
I'll put
No,
Who in
I
their right
won't take
mind?
that.
Who in their
You
right
think
Someone
mind would
earlier
take
anybody
put
in
up
their
a
right
thousand
mind's
bucks.
taking that?
huh? What's that, Chris?
What's the over under? Like 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not taking that bet.
No. Will anyone
John will
take
never
action?
get
Does
married.
anybody want to take the action?
No.
No, absolutely not.
Hey, Chris, what's worse? John Lee living as a sinner for the last 20 years, or him lying straight to his church father's
You know,
face about him being married?
How funny would that be if he just does it just so you lose the bet?
Yeah, that's funny because it would be like $10, right? But that would be after he just said that, these things that I say are of no consideration to him when these decisions.
I mean, look, I'm the worst person that I know, so like, that part is not phasing me. It's just I guess it's all the other stuff surrounding it.
Michael Fredgren, because he said he wasn't considering it before, but he's going to consider it now. He's going to have a conversation about it now, Michael. Things are different now, Michael. He's going to talk about it. They're going to have a conversation. He's going to consider it. Everything's changed now. Everything's changed.
Which is ridiculous anyway, because if he was really as devoted a Christian as he claims to be, every time he had sex with his wife, he'd feel guilty. Or girlfriend, sorry, not wife, girlfriend.
Scorpion, where have you been?
I took a vacation.
Welcome back.
If he were
Thank
truly
you.
as devoted a Christian as he says he is, right? Knows that he's elect, right? Has no doubt about Jesus Christ being the one true God. And every time he would tie another knot for his wife's shibari, he would feel a little bit lesser in the eyes of God, but he's still there tying away,
Yeah, I think Christianity is just taking an L today. You guys win. You win today.
The weird
Thank
thing is, too,
you.
with
Thank
John is,
you.
if
Thank you.
the story about John was consistent with what he's been saying, you think John would have been adamant that, no, what do you mean? I'm still married, guys. What do you mean? He wouldn't, and when in the face of all these other Christians, he'd be telling them, no, what are you guys talking about? I am married. I am not a sinner. Blah, 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 right? But no, he's like cowering right now.
I mean, look, I'm going to say marriage is a covenant between a man and a woman that is permanent until death, and that now you can make the argument as a Christian that if the covenant is fulfilled in the sight of God in a proper church with a proper pastor, that you don't need a legal document. I don't know of any Christians who don't get the legal document because it's just a hassle not to have it and to like get name changes and all that other stuff, and it's so easy to get it, but you could make an argument that the covenant is fulfilled without the little legal document. Is that what we're talking about here? Or are we talking about there is no covenant in place except for
But I think we're
between two
agreeing,
people?
at least from Christian perspective, I would agree that you could make that argument. But my point is, I was saying that if, according to a couple of things, if you want to kind of protect your spouse, something happened to you, make sure she's taken care of, then a marriage is better. Also, just, Paul says to obey governing authorities, and I think that it's just a better thing to do as a Christian. And also, in John's case, just his church, he agreed to join a church, and it was, from what he was saying, it was the understanding that he was married, and I just don't think the church would have accepted that if he had told them those details.
Oh wow, this
So
is funny.
I think it's kind of how John. I think just how he handled. If he'd have just been upfront with the church when he joined, I think that might be different.
John, I got a couple super chats. Ask him if he ever caught his wife with a real commitment. Ooh. And this one's actually kind of funny, John. Listen to this one. John will do shibari, but he's afraid to tie the knot. You get it, John? John, you get it, bud?
Nice. That was a good one. That was a good
That
one.
was really good.
Sorry, what is shibari? What does that mean?
Shibari is a sexual degeneracy that manifests itself in fetish type
It's bondage with very
bondage
tied,
with elaborate ropes
harnesses.
and knots and suspending your wife like a piece of dried aged meat for your own sexual pleasure. That's what
Are you
John's
clowning
into.
me right now?
Basically,
Like, are you seriously clowning me, Tom? Like, Tom, is that
like
what
hanging
it
her
is?
up like a raging deer meat.
No, I'm not clowning you.
It's rope play.
Yeah, James is tired says John Lee is married in one way and not another. Yep, it's true. One sense he is, one sense he's not.
Say what now?
Well, in
There's
one
a
sense.
covenant. There's no one sense. There's a covenant or there's not.
Well, that's one sense. If the sense in which John is married is a husband is that he feels like he is. That's the sense that he says he's.
Tom forgot to put the little laughy face when he read that. I'm giving you John Lee's answer. You and I know it's a covenant. You and I know that you should get married.
Right. Yeah. Are you married, James?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I told everybody 19 years earlier, but then I said I wasn't quite sure on that. It's been 18 years and 7 months. So almost.
There you go.
Gotcha.
There you go.
My wife and I just did 26 years at Amelia Island in Amelia Island, Florida. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by biological husbands, you know.
I'm sorry,
John Lee.
you don't deserve that.
John Lee, what's your primary emotion been about everybody finding out?
I haven't been too bothered by it, to be honest.
That's not an emotion.
So apathy, the same emotion with regards to your marriage?
Oof.
John Lee, if I've caused you any trauma or stress, I deeply apologize. I'm so
Probably
sorry.
apathetic to, moral outrage expressed.
You didn't find it entertaining even? Like you didn't find amusement in our outrage?
Little bit, some of the speculations, Jay.
Yeah, but the thing is, the hand waving you're doing about moral outrage and people saying you ought to get married, blah, blah, but God agrees with us, right?
He still hasn't told us what his standard is, that he apparently is meeting the criteria.
He can't say it. He doesn't even, he's just bullshitting. Just bullshitting.
I know, but I'd like to hear him try.
Oh, I'd love to hear that too. I mean, I'd love to hear it. You want to tell us, John?
Tom, is this just like the greatest day of your life right now?
No, actually,
or the second
Chris,
greatest day if you're married.
I'm actually greatly. Look, John, I've been talking about John's shibari, and whenever I make jokes about it, and John and I talk about it, this entire time I've been on Clubhouse I got my little birthday hat. I got my little birthday hat like a month ago, so that's over 1 year, right? That I've been making shibari jokes with John, and this entire time, I thought that it was a beautiful, loving, sanctified act that was occurring within the sanctity of marriage, right? And little did I know that it was just carnal, just lust, and just there was nothing holy about it, right? It was just John tying his wife up so he could get his rocks off. That's all it was, right?
You know,
Nothing,
I never tied
nothing
my wife
godly
up, Tom.
about it, Chris.
Do you actually think I tied my wife up, Tom? You actually asked me directly.
We know
I said
you
no.
wanted to. You're just too much of a chicken to actually do it.
No, that's not correct either.
Either that or she won't consent to it.
He doesn't care about
So
consent.
you're talking about something 20, 30 years ago that I expressed? You want to pretend it's going on now in our marriage, or whatever
Well,
marriage
no,
you don't want to
you
recognize?
admitted to watching this porn just a few years ago. So I'm not sure why you're saying 20 to 30 years ago.
That's
Said
not.
you're
Did
into
you
it.
hear that? Did you hear that? In our I mean, in whatever this is.
Well,
That's
John,
pretty
I got good news
disrespectul,
for you,
John.
man. I got good
You can at
news
least
for
call
you,
it a
man.
relationship.
In this situation, I would respect your pronouns, right? And the fact that you're not actually married, you know, I'll still refer to your her as your wife, and you know, I will respect your pronouns. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think you disrespect the facts when you're just saying what you're saying about all sorts of things.
What about the shibari?
Wait a minute, Andronicus, is that your wedding picture or is that Patrick Swayze?
That's me.
Just check.
And how did you? I like how you pronounce my name. Did you say Andronicus?
You look like
John
a
Lee.
young Kiefer Sutherland
like
with a
Latin.
mullet there.
Yeah. This is some
Look
throwback.
at all
I
these
like
people like making a holy commitment before God, before their God, right? Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Love to see it.
Yeah, you love to see it, right?
John Lee, did she call you her boyfriend?
Damn.
Wow.
Androcus, you're 50.
I was actually thinking about that earlier. If she introduces him as her husband or not.
John, she doesn't say something like partner, like a generic sort of catch-all, does she? John? Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm not just going to respond to you today, Tom. I mean, after all the
Okay, all right. Okay.
That was
Tapping
godless.
out.
Okay, that's fine. I get it. Even after I said I would respect your pronouns, right? So that's you know, not a single other person has made that commitment.
Back down, John.
Hey, Jane, is that your wedding picture?
Yeah, we did hand fasting.
What's that? I've never heard of that. I'm learning all kinds of stuff today.
It's a type of shibari, actually.
John Lee,
I thought John would
to maybe
appreciate that.
if I've somehow like, you know, offended you, right? Could I perhaps extend sort of the hand of like forgiveness and sort of reconciliation? Perhaps I could make a gesture. I propose that I offer up
acknowledging lying, Tom?
I offer up my body to you to be tied up for a period of time that we will negotiate, and in return, as compensation, you will forgive me for any perceived transgression that I've done towards you today.
What transgression do you think I'm perceiving?
I would request that it is twine and not rope, though.
That's gonna hurt.
No, John Lee said that twine's better. He says you're supposed to do it with twine. Right, John? Except for the hands and feet, and for that I would make just a special request of the nearest telephone wire yanked from the wall. That's just a personal request. I mean, that's not it's not a deal breaker, because I know they're hard
I'll
to
tell
find
you what,
nowadays.
Tom. If I
But
don't take it, if
mm-hmm.
I don't take
Yeah.
your comments seriously with
Yeah.
sincerity, well then,
Mm-hmm.
I hope you're not offended.
Okay. Oh, there's a guy in the plot hole. That's JL Warren, I think. He says identify as married to Jessica Alba. He's married to Jessica Alba. Will you respect his pronouns and refer to him as husband of Jessica Alba, John?
Is it Jessica Alba now or Jessica Alba 15 years ago?
I think that's the same thing.
I mean, I didn't mean to throw a whole epistemological question in the mix.
Oh, it's Johnny O. Yeah, that's right.
Hey, Tom, I got a question for you.
Yeah. What's up, man? Oh, Suit. Is that Suit Tech? Well, welcome, bud.
It is.
Wow, all the Discord ringers are now they're just filing in now, man.
The ninjas come out of the woodwork.
There was a single drop of blood in the water, John, your blood, and they're coming from miles away.
So first off, I've been in a relationship for 10 years, so I am married. I would hope that John would respect.
Congratulations on your holy union. In the eyes of God.
I'm curious, how
do you want to post a wedding picture? Go ahead. Oh
yeah, sure. I'm curious about the Shibari thing. How did that come to light? Because I'm kind of new to the John Lee thing. This guy seems like
he just offers that up.
Like the new surrogate from Mark Thomas. So
we did not have to dig for it.
Well, I think I dug a little bit my recollection was that what happened, it was something like he used to own the video rental store called Happy Endings Video, and then in the video store there was a section in the back which was pornographic, and I asked him if he ever watched them, and he said yeah, whatever. But the question was like, what's the spiciest, most like the weirdest stuff that you're into? And then I threw out some things, I don't even, just guesses, and he said Shibari is
that's not accurate, Tom.
Said he was into a Shibari. Well, okay, feel free to correct me. Go ahead,
John. If you would like to tell me the story, that would be great.
Maybe some other time. I would tell you, just not here today.
Okay,
I'm trying to get them off the marriage talk, John. Come on.
Yeah, the other way I recall it is that John Lee, he was preparing a beef Wellington, and he was tying it up, and while he was tying it up, he became so aroused by the tying aspect that he used the beef Wellington as a sort of primal fleshlight of some kind, and that's when he realized this Shibari thing is really speaks to him on a level that is deep, really deep.
Now you're clowning, right? You're clowning.
The Wellington was still raw.
I mean,
probably
look,
more accurate than his first one.
In the heat of the moment, you don't really think about these types of things.
I don't know if that's a good thing, John.
So this is like an American Pie situation.
Yeah.
What you mean about one lie being worse than the other?
Johnny Haas, I need help. Please, Johnny. You're our only hope.
Yeah. I mean, look, John, we've all had our moments with a beef Wellington. So, I mean, no shame there, right? So, whatever. John, I think you think maybe we kind of fleshed this out enough here. Oh, Johnny Haas is here. He was one of your biggest advocates yesterday.
Johnny Haas has no idea what qualifies as marriage.
Well, you know, Johnny
I'm
Haas
certain that
is
Johnny
usually,
Haas does.
you know, it's just kind of like,
Straight
look,
shooter.
yeah, he's usually look, if this is wrong, it's wrong. Bible says this, Bible says that type of thing. But yesterday, I got the sense, and this is the first time in a long time, I felt like he was trying to massage it, right? So I didn't really like that. I felt like he was trying to massage. So yeah, that's a new thing.
Can we, Johnny? Are you there? Really? I'm dying right now.
Anybody else have a hankering for a beef Wellington?
Not ever again in my entire life. Thanks, Tom. You just ruined another thing for me.
You're welcome.
That didn't sound sincere, Tom.
John.
Try again.
John, there's 54 people in here, and there was like 120 people at peak watching. This is a great saga that we've stumbled upon, you know? I mean, you are a real attraction.
Just another day for me in my life, Tom.
Could make a
Right.
show about John Lee.
You know who Rachel Dolezal is, John Lee?
But you're not.
You remember her? Do you remember her?
Yeah, I already said I do not.
Oh, you don't? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Rachel Dolezal is a woman, and she worked in some sort of like I want to say NAACP, but it was either that or an organization like that. And
she was the chapter director for the Seattle NAACP, I believe.
Okay, yes, there you go. And
or maybe Portland, something else.
Now she looked like she was like mixed or part black, but it turns out that she was like born in like the Midwest and was like white as snow, right? And she used various techniques like hair dye, you know, tanner, makeup. She like curled her hair, like altered her appearance to appear more black.
Kind of like an Elizabeth Warren?
Well, I don't think Elizabeth Warren tries to look Native American. I don't really see that. Maybe she has a full headdress that she puts on when like that I don't know about or something. But
she just puts it on her Harvard applications. That's
anyway. So and she was presenting herself as black, right? And then it came out that she's not black at all. She has like ethnically she's not black at all. Right?
Kind of like Jovan.
Yeah, exactly. She's extremely white. And so there was a bit of a controversy over that, and she came out and said, she proclaimed that she's transracial. Transracial. What do you think about that, John?
Well, I mean, I think for you guys, you would be accepting of.
No, I said,
what do you?
No, I said, John. I said because I said, what do you think about it?
That's
Not what do you think we think about it. I asked, what do you think about it?
It's Mark Thomas.
Well, I think there's only one human race, if that's what you're asking.
No, not really.
No, I do believe that.
So
I think that's kind of
we,
beyond the point he's trying to make. I think the point
yeah.
he's trying to make, John, is he's trying to see if transracial is okay, and he's making that an analog for being trans married.
Yeah, the term racial, I guess that's the term used. Yeah, I don't recognize terms like that.
John, it's okay that you're trans. Nobody's judging you.
But you do recognize terms like trans married.
I
Right?
do recognize a term like a person being transgender, something like that, in the sense of what that represents.
Well, we're talking, yeah, that's great and all, but we're talking about transracial and trans married right now. You know, I know you want to talk about other things that we're not talking about, but that's what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, I mean, as far as people who claim to be transgender, I know there's a lot of
You
them.
see, I know you
People who
want to
claim to
just
be
keep going to the
transracial,
transgender
I
thing, but
don't
we're
know
not
them.
talking about that again. You know, it's obvious to everyone what you're doing. Talking about transracial and trans married, right? That's what we're talking about. So in the way where you say you're trans married because you identify as one, you fulfill some of the like cultural and societal norms of a husband, blah blah blah. Rachel Dolezal identifies as black. She fulfills some of the cultural norms and like behavior, etc., interests, whatever she deems to be associated with that. So it seems like you guys are same, no?
Well, I think the difference is I've never in my life identified as trans married ever.
Yeah, you have.
A lot of trans people don't identify as a trans woman or a trans man. They just identify as a man or a woman. So you're on the same level.
Well, there you go, Jay.
There you go. There you go. So you recognize Rachel Dolezal as being black?
Yeah, that's a different question. I already answered your question of she identifies as trans, whatever, and I do not.
So would you recognize her ethnicity if she just identified as black without the trans in front of it?
No, but I mean, maybe you people would.
Weird, because he's adopted the trans thing, but then he's rejecting in the case of her, but they're the same case. So is he saying that he's not trans married, but that he actually is married, even though he's not married?
Yeah, I don't consider it analogous. I'm sure you guys might try to argue that case, but I don't.
Yeah, just like, yeah.
You know that Office, it's the same picture meme? That's
I
what's
mean,
going on.
I don't know what you guys feel about transgender, trans married, transracial, if you consider them all the same thing. Seems like you're trying to compare them to be the same thing. Why don't
John,
you
it's
just
the same
lump in
picture.
transgender to that as well? And there's your reasoning right there. Your internal critique right there.
Are you shuffling cards or moving on leather?
He was like tying twine or something.
Yeah.
I'm just commenting on his attempt to make
It's like the
comparisons.
sound of like leather being
I'm just
tightened and
saying if you're
making
going to
that
make
stretching
comparisons,
sound.
throw in transgender
You're
too.
not doing self-shibari in your own car, are you? Seatbelt's
Do you
supposed
think
to go
he's so
around
Am I
your
angry
wrong
waist,
to
not
say
your
he's...
that you can
neck.
throw in transgender too in your comparison?
Are you pulling and twisting a strap of leather to get out your anger, John?
He's just getting the bedroom ready for later.
Because I would think that's in line of what you're attempting to reason, Tom.
So is there like a pulley where you like hoist her up?
Yeah, he uses a Harbor Freight engine hoist. It's like chain operated. Takes a while to get her up there, but once she's up there,
Are you
she's up there
running
for
away
good.
from your reasoning, Tom?
No. What was your
Your
question?
argument, after all, sir.
Well, I don't even remember your question anymore. I'm sorry. What was it?
Well, you wanted to compare this woman. You brought her up.
Yep.
You've made this whole story about her being identifying as transracial. You wanted to
Yep.
compare it to trans married. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, well, you can throw in transgender to that comparison as well. Correct, Tom?
You could, yeah. And
so do you reject all three? Do you accept some and not others? I mean, what would be your consistency in your worldview, sir?
well, I
What is
would
he doing?
accept. There's two different senses in all of them, and I would accept that you're a trans husband. I would accept
Wait,
Rachel
are
as.
they a comparison or different senses now? Are they analogous or are they not?
Well, they're all analogous in their respective senses, right? So Rachel Dolezal, let's just assume like there's such a thing as like what it means to be black, and then there's such a thing as what it means to be female or male by chromosomes, and there's a sense in which one is legally married or not. Those would all be analogous, right? And then there's a sense of this identity thing where Rachel Dolezal fulfills some sort of like role as a black person, and she looks the part, and is in accord with all these cultural societal norms, and that would be the other sense. And for you, that would be you like fulfilling the norms and the duties of a husband and being a de facto husband in some sort of way. And the transgender person, fulfilling the cultural norms of whatever gender they identify with. So that's all
Very
analogous.
good.
Yeah.
Now, do you accept her as transracial? Do you accept her as her identity as black? That's the real question, Tom.
Her identity? Sure, why not?
Okay, so you have no problem with her identifying as black? You have no
No.
transgender person
Are you just going to
identifying
keep
as
re-asking
a
the question
woman?
like you think you're going to get a different answer, John?
And so you don't have an issue with someone identifying as married. And so there you go. There's your
What do you mean?
worldview.
I literally said I'm going to use your pronouns and I accept it. I mean, like, what are you acting like this is some kind of revelation,
This is
right?
like 2 hours old. We accepted this 2 hours ago.
Right. And so there's really no further discussion as far as your view is concerned, correct?
Well, my view has already
Yeah,
been
this whole
clear.
thing has been about your view, and you haven't laid out
Because
the standard.
I think there seems to be some reluctance about forcing words like girlfriend, whore, concubine. I mean, it seems to me there's
Yeah,
an
those are all
unwillingness to
jokes.
accept identity here.
Yeah, those are all jokes, John, because it's
It
funny.
just seems a
Because
little
Is it affecting your fifis, John?
concubine is really funny because it's a biblical term, right? And that's what you call a woman who isn't your wife that you
It's
sleep
not
with.
necessarily biblical. I mean, when you look at the Chinese emperors, they had concubines and
John,
stuff
can
like
I get
that.
a rendition of
True.
feelings?
Feelings. Yeah, man. No, John. I mean, look. I'm going to use your pronoun. You're a husband, man.
Yeah. So if you think where someone were to call Snugs a dude or or something like that, or Brendan or something like that, it's just a joke,
Snugs isn't
right?
trans.
Just a joke, right?
Snugs
Oh,
is
here it
not
comes
gay.
out. Here it comes. Okay.
Yeah.
This has been now. It's like a delayed reaction with John. It's like he doesn't actually get whatever pisses him off. You don't actually get to it until a little while later. Are you mad now, John? Yeah, are you upset?
No, I'm actually following the line of reasoning that you introduced with this lady of trans
Rachel
black.
Dolezal, yeah. Yeah, we as was said, this was laid out like 2 hours ago, and you're presumably well aware of my position, and as I said, I accept you as being a trans husband.
I think you blew his mind.
You're
the first person You're the
is,
first person I ever met that's a trans husband.
question is though,
Congratulations.
if you insist that we call you a husband, right? Are you going to stop calling trans people delusional?
I don't insist that either.
Are you delusional, John?
Do you think Jesus recognizes you as a trans husband? Do you think Jesus would use your pronouns?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not confident Jesus would call Brendan her.
Well, then
Brendan.
the
I'm sorry,
analog is that he
Brendan.
wouldn't call you a husband, right?
I don't know.
Well, that's the
Well, you said
analog,
it
isn't
wasn't a
it?
you said it wasn't a sin, so why wouldn't he recognize you as a husband?
Yeah, sometimes Jane, there are sins we don't think is a sin, but we recognize through the illumination of the Holy Spirit that it is. One example would be like when I used to smoke pot a lot. Never thought of it as a sin. Thought of it as like an herb. Even if God existed, He gave us these seed-bearing plants and so forth. I used to actually
Why
think
would
this way.
Well,
smoking
wait,
pot
because
be a sin?
earlier today or yesterday, we asked you if you thought it was a sin, and you said no. Has that
That's right.
changed? And now you do think it's a sin? Has the Holy Spirit
And I,
illuminated?
I think you're missing the point of what I just said, Jane.
So are you
Uh,
waiting for that revel? Are you saying that you might not? It might be a sin, and you just haven't had that revelation yet?
I'm saying there's always that possibility, and because there's always that possibility, you're being hasty in your characterizations. That's all. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Sounds like you're putting your immortal soul on the line on a guess. That seems kind of
Yeah, I mean, you
dangerous.
could avoid my point or not. That's fine.
Well, if you don't know for sure,
feelings.
then I don't know why. If you don't know for sure, then I don't know why you're making this. I mean, it's a pretty hefty bet to lose, right?
Yeah, now you're just rambling on non sequiturs and red herrings. That's fine.
Well, if you're wrong and it is a sin, I mean, that's pretty bad, right?
I would think that's good if one's recognizing it.
Right, but you aren't recognizing it as a sin. That would be bad.
It would probably only be bad if it's um, persistent and unabated.
It
Then I would
is.
agree.
It
Oh,
is.
this
It's been
just
20
reminded me
years.
of
And even still, Jane, I would also say this. Um, there are people who die, right, as Christians, not recognizing some of their sins, right? But it's really not an issue as far as their salvation. It's covered in the blood of Christ. And so it's not the case that every single sin is made aware to a person before death.
Oh, but I thought that was the problem with Tom not wanting to rape babies because he wouldn't be repentant of this
Yeah,
sin.
again, that's non sequitur.
Well, but you're not repentant of this sin.
One would have to recognize. See, what you're not understanding in the Tom example is
You
he
just
thought
said that
something was
you
good.
wait, no,
Now
because
you
you just
want to
said you
interrupt
can't.
me a point. You
Well, because you
recognize
said
I'm
you
making.
couldn't. No, because
Okay,
you said
I
you
think
couldn't
discussion's over.
recognize.
Clearly,
You said you couldn't
yeah,
recognize it as a
discussion's
sin.
over. I mean, you
You
you want
said
to
the
overtalk
Holy
me.
Spirit might reveal it in the
Clearly,
future to you that it would
clearly,
be a
you
sin.
don't want to have a conversation. I was in the process of making my point of
Well, because
how
I
Jesus
know
is.
what point you were going to make is that
Yes,
Tom
because it's
recognized it as
different
a
than what
sin.
you're
No, no,
trying to
no.
make,
man.
No,
and
because what I'm
you're
saying
not
is
even
that
allowing it. And so I'm
you just
done.
got through
Thank you.
this you just got through saying that you aren't for sure that it's not a sin because the Holy Spirit might reveal later that it is. So you aren't aware of whether or not this is a sin, and it could be, right?
There's
You're
no
not
standard
interested in
he'll
real
appeal to.
conversation, Jane. You're
You know what?
literally not interested.
This just remind. Is Jack there? Jack, are you there?
Yeah.
So remember how John has like made this stupid claim that I don't make arguments and stuff? I was just reminded of another one of these random arguments that led to like, I think this one lasted like a week of conversations. But remember the argument that I came up with that was something like the conclusion was that there are no morally neutral acts. Do you remember that one?
Not
Like, and I had this
quite.
example, like, and John Lee signed off on like moving your left foot 2 inches to the left would be necessarily good or evil, and he said it was evil.
Oh yeah, that thing. That's right.
Yeah, I can't remember how I formulated the argument. Do you remember?
I gotta think about it.
I remember there was a standing on one foot. I don't know if that jogs a memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I stated it depends on the reason, right? If someone sprained an ankle, and because of that, they're relieving the pressure on the sprained ankle and standing on one foot. I said if that's the purpose, it would be good. But if it's nonsensical, and I gave an example of something that's completely pointless, then it would not be good. So it's not standing on one's foot in and of itself, is what I was saying.
I forgot.
That
I'm
establishes
just trying to
whether it's good
remember
or
how
not.
I formulated the argument. I don't remember. But that one, John was pretty much the only person that signed off that there are no morally neutral acts, right?
I think it was just that everything you do is either in accordance with God's
Oh yeah, that
will or
was the
God's nature,
wording.
or it's not.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, Haiti.
Accord with God's nature or not in accord with God's nature, right? And then
God's will. God's will.
well, it's effectively the same thing. Yeah, but that wording was in accord with. Yeah, that's right, Haiti. You're right. And then, you know, let's see. That which is in accord with God's nature is moral, and that which is not in accord with God's nature is immoral. And then, every act is going to either be moral or immoral, meaning that
And so what's your point?
there's no moral neutrality to any act. Yeah, the point is that like you pick your nose, you move your foot to the left, you stand on one foot. They're all going to necessarily be evil or good. Yeah, that sounds wacky and funny. And you said if you stood on
Not to
one
me.
foot, yeah, you said if you stand on one foot and it's just for no reason, right, then that's an evil act. That's hilarious. Yeah, you remember that argument though, right, John?
Yeah, I remember your arguments.
Yeah, but you also said that I don't make arguments, right?
What exactly was your argument? There are morally neutral acts? Is that your
I
argument?
just laid it out for you.
No, your claim
In
regarding a lot of the
syllogistic
truth,
The
form.
nobody
conclusion
makes
of your
arguments.
argument.
There are no morally
So
neutral
yeah.
acts. That's the conclusion.
Your argument is there are no morally neutral acts?
No, that's the conclusion.
No, that's what I'm saying. So your argument is there are no morally neutral, because I
In
thought
virtue
that
of
was
what you
my
said,
argument.
yeah.
No, that's the conclusion.
Well, I meant that's the conclusion to my argument, not yours.
Your argument? What argument?
That there are no morally neutral acts, sir. Well, what are your premises for the conclusion that there are no morally
Yeah, I just gave it
neutral
to
acts?
you as like any act will either be in accord or not in accord with God's nature. Things that are in accordance with God's
Well,
nature
wait a minute. We're talking about your view or my view?
was the argument that I'm rendering.
The argument you're
I'm
rendering
making
is
an
what?
argument.
A steel man? Is that what you're saying?
Bro, I'm just making an argument, bro.
with the idea that God exists. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and that particular argument is actually my argument. Are you saying you stole it from me?
No,
What are you
it's a
talking about?
reductio. He didn't steal it from you.
Okay, so in other words, is this correct, Tom? You're attempting a reductio. Is this where we're going?
I don't know what
I
the
mean, it's either case
reductio. I
you're doing
don't.
a reductio, or you have the conclusion that there are no morally neutral acts. Which is it?
The
The
reductio is
latter.
it's absurd to think that standing on one foot would be immoral. It's stupid, John.
Look, I'm not then. I'm
Well, I
not
already
using the
said that
word. I'm
standing
not.
on
I'm
one
not
foot
using the
in and of
language
itself is
reductio at all. You can take it up with
isn't
them,
the
right? I'm just
basis of
saying that, like,
extension.
I made an argument. You remember the argument. It was put in syllogistic form just now, right? I gave you the conclusion of the argument. I made an argument, right? It's just clear as day, right? It's just one of many that I've made.
Which is what? I mean, I'm not sure what your argument actually is. I mean, it seems like your people, your
Your
sycophants here
claim,
aren't even
John, the
clear on
point
that.
is you claimed that he doesn't make arguments, and he's pointing out that he does make arguments and gave this example.
Yeah,
Listen, I'm not even as I'm listening to this, Jane. I'm not hearing an argument.
yeah. I'll give it to you again, right? You know, any act is either in accord with God's nature, or not in accordance with God's nature. Things that are acts that are in accordance with God's nature are moral, and acts that are not in accordance with God's nature are immoral. Therefore, there can be no neutral acts because it's either going to be moral or immoral.
Okay, now how's that a reductio?
I'm not using the word reductio, bro. That you take it up with them.
Okay, so your sycophants don't even understand what you're saying.
What do you mean? I completely
take it.
understand what he's saying. It follows from what Tom said that if standing on one foot is immoral, that's fucking retarded or dumb, John.
So is that what you contend, that you're looking at the action of standing on one's foot, irrespective of the basis for
The
standing on one's foot?
conclusion to
Tom?
what you
Is this
believe
where we're going
leads
here?
to absurdity. Is that clear for you, John?
Do you have within your argument the basis of why one's actions are, or just simply in accordance or not in accordance, Tom?
Is it clear to you?
Jack, see, this is why this one was so good. Is because look how this is a reprint, right? And look how fired up he's getting over this.
Well, I just think that your sycophants aren't really aware of what your argument really is, and what is
Well,
the point
the
of
argument
it?
has
That actions are either in accord or not in accord with God. Well, you're preaching to the choir here.
Well, that's great. You agree
Look, it's
with the
dumb to
premise,
say that there
then.
aren't morally neutral acts. That's just ridiculous.
Do you think it's dumb, Tom? Your conclusion?
The conclusion? No.
Well, I think you have a defector here. He thinks your conclusion
What are you talking
is
about?
dumb.
I'm disagreeing with you, dummy.
Yeah, he's saying it's dumb to think that they're to deny morally neutral acts, right?
I personally don't agree with morally neutral acts. You already know that, Tom.
Yeah.
And that's why you're dumb.
Yeah, and Delano's saying that position is dumb.
Right.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that commits you to like things like standing on one foot for no reason is evil.
For no reason, no good reason, right?
Yeah,
I
just
thought
because
I
I felt
qualify.
silly.
I literally
No, I'm
just said
evil.
that because I know that's
No,
what
I'm
you want to
evil.
qualify, and then you like re-qualified it for some reason.
So,
It's so
would you
weird.
characterize no good reason as evil?
You would?
No, I'm asking if are you? That's what
I
I'm
think
asking.
he's equivocating on the word good.
I don't know. Look, the conclusion says that there's no morally neutral acts. It doesn't like dictate what is like in accord or not in accord with God's nature, right? I don't know if standing on one foot is like in accord with God's nature or not, right? That's a problem that you Christians are gonna have to deal with. But you
Well, it
Christians
depends
are
on the
just gonna
reason. I already stated that.
just gonna know though that it's a fact that it is a fact that standing on one foot is either good or evil.
No, that's not the case, sir. What you're
Why?
not understanding, right, is, for example, like it is not a belief, disbelief, or lack of belief that establishes something as irrational, Nor is it not the case that any action in and of itself, spending money, for example, is moral or immoral. It's the basis, right? It's a logical basis, the reason why you're spending the money. If it's to satisfy one's own lust, it is evil. If it's
Yeah,
to be
nothing you're saying
benevolent,
changes
and
anything. You
so
can
you're
say that
saying
there's other factors that go into this like full
right.
equation, but
So
at
so
the
it's
end of
not
the
the
day,
action in and of
it's still going to be
itself.
the case that the final equation is going to be in accord with God's nature or not. Period.
That's my point. And so why is that absurd?
Because it commits you to saying that, like, normally reprehensible acts, as long as they are in accord with God's nature, then they're good. That's pretty gross.
There are no morally reprehensible acts that are in accordance with God's nature.
I mean,
Yeah, they
like
happen every day.
you were pretty much like the only Christian who would say that standing on one foot for no reason is evil.
So let me get this straight. Are you saying that the other Christians are in disagreement with your argument and therefore more reasonable, or I that is actually in agreement with your argument is somehow absurd? Is this where we're going? I'm not quite sure in your point, Tom.
Yeah, because they agreed that there were morally neutral acts, and we think that that is a more reasonable stance.
Is that what you think, Tom?
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Yeah. I mean, I would just reject premise one as like, good is just what is in accord with God's nature
So
or
let me get
whatever.
this straight. You're making an argument.
Yep.
There, other Christians are objecting to your argument, and
Yep.
You're agreeing with your objectors. Is this where we're at?
Yeah, I don't believe in God, dummy.
And so,
Yeah, it's
so
an
in other
internal
words,
critique.
and so in other words, you're saying that the people that disagree with your arguments, given the existence of God, right? You're saying that they are correct in disagreeing with your argument. Is that correct?
Yeah, if I were them, if I
This
were
is
in their
why it was
position, I would reject
reductio.
a premise too.
And so you're not representing their position. Would that also be correct?
We're representing your position.
Yeah, I'm representing the position of anyone who would say that what's good is which is in accord with God's nature. Right? If they reject that,
That would
then
be
good
me.
for them.
That would be me.
Yeah, so that would be you. Yeah, you're right.
And so you're saying that my position is somehow unreasonable?
Yeah, well, it's
One
going to
might say
commit you to
absurd.
standing on one foot for no reason is evil. Like, literally evil. Yeah, it sounds absurd.
I didn't say that. It could be good for the reasons I expressed there. So I don't know why you keep looking at moral
I said for no
action.
reason.
It's
You
like
qualified for no reason as evil.
That's why I tried to tell you.
I
to
literally
give you the example of
qualified it the
killing.
way in which you qualified it to where it's evil, dummy.
Sir, killing, right? Is
Oh my god, dude. He's look, Jack, he's kill screening. He's kill screening from a I've resurrected this dumb argument.
If it's killing in
This dumb argument is already going crazy.
Yeah, and so if it's murder, right, that is not in accordance with God's nature. It is unjustified. And so it's not the question of whether killing in and of itself is in alignment with God's will.
Are you appealing to
It
a
actually
standard to know
depends.
what's in and out of line with God's nature now? Are you
And
appealing to a standard
so
now?
So what you're doing with the standing on one's foot, you're pretending that it's absurd to say that it's either good or evil for standing on one's foot when I just gave you examples of where there's justification, moral justification, for one to be standing on one's foot if they sprain their ankle, and for nonsense, it is evil to waste your time standing on one's foot for no reason whatsoever. I would consider that evil, sir.
Is he appealing to a
for no reason,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
absurd.
that's the qualification that I made, and then you like objected to it.
That clip of him saying that standing on
when
one
you
foot
laid
was
out your
evil is
premise,
it's gonna be great. Thank you, John.
argument, Tom.
Yeah, I know you're in agreement. You were one of the only people to be in agreement. Most other Christians would reject one of the premises, and they for sure reject. They for sure reject the conclusion. They don't want to commit themselves to raising their right eyebrow, or just like,
But you're missing certain premises. Just to let you know, you're missing certain premises uh, that actions according to God's nature have intentions, good intentions. Actions that do not. So actions that have good intentions, right? Or more so,
including
there's
that
either
would just be
intention.
redundant. It's just built into it,
I'm
right?
sorry, John, am I wrong? But you already accepted the premises and the conclusion, so I'm not sure why you're fighting it now.
Well, I do on a basic form, but then when he's saying that standing on one's foot is therefore what, Tom? You can't say one way or another if it's good or evil, can you?
He said for no
All you could say
reason.
it's
I said
either
for no
good or
He
reason,
evil.
which is the
said
That's very
for
qualification
possible.
no
that
reason.
you said was necessary to determine whether it's good or evil. I've said it literally every single time for no reason, and then every single time you say, but it's only evil
Okay,
for no if you
so in other words, standing on one's foot is either good or evil would be the conclusion, correct?
standing on his foot for no reason, according to you, is either good or evil. What do you? Why do
That's
you?
correct.
Why do you keep trying to
He's
change
asking
it
if you're a
then?
steel
Why do you
man
keep
here.
trying to
I don't
change
know.
it?
Hang on, you also
It's like you're
acknowledge that
trying
in
to
some
prompt me
cases.
to try and straw man you. I've never seen someone try
But
so
Tom,
hard to get their
here's
interlocutor
the
to straw man them.
you're not even letting me finish. So the conclusion is it's either good or evil in one isolated situation. However, it could be five different situations it's good, five different other situations it's evil. So in other words, it's correct in each individual instance. It is either good or evil, but
Yeah,
not
this
on
is
a
all
on a
built into the.
comprehensive way.
Look, you're just talking
That
about other
that
factors,
standing on
but
one's
that's
foot is
just going to
good or
be
evil.
built into
You
whatever
do
scenario
understand
you
that, right?
have. Whatever scenario you come up with, whatever factors there are, it's going to be the case that it's good or evil, period.
Exactly. And so they could be both good and evil. You understand that, right? But not simultaneously.
It could be both good and evil. What do you mean? In the same time, in the same way?
I just said, but not simultaneously.
So in
He's
what
not
sense are
saying
they
anything
good
more than
and
they can be
evil?
good or they can be evil.
Dependent on the basis.
Which still leads you sounding ridiculous, John.
Yeah, just look, nothing changes. It's still just going to be the case that there's no morally neutral acts.
And you actually think
Whatever the
that's some sort of
circumstances
strong
in which
argument?
you're standing on one foot, it's going to be the case that it's either good or evil.
And you're saying that's a bad argument. So you are doing a reductio, as Eleno said, correct?
No, I'm just
Yeah, I
taking the
mean, like,
conclusion of your position, and I'm saying it's fucking ridiculous.
I'm not clear on what you're
I think it's
attempting to
ridiculous
do.
too, but
You made a syllogism, right? To me, it's
Uh-huh.
valid, right? And to me,
Mhm.
it's also sound, right? The issue is there's a little bit of lack of clarity in it. I would agree, but ultimately, you're
Yeah,
saying that
I could definitely formulate it a
you're
little
saying
better.
that
It's
the
just kind of rough.
conclusion is somehow absurd. I don't see the absurdity other than an argumentum ad lapidem in claiming that that's some sort of reductio.
Just to be clear, John,
You
do you
you
think
seem to be
it's not? Do you think it's?
you seem to be claiming that the objectors are actually reasonable in objecting, and yet I see no rational basis for you to take the position of your objectors in your
Buzzword,
argument.
John, fill
Rather,
in the gap.
What is
rather,
happening?
if you're going to have an argument that
He's
exceeds
going through all
Jack,
his
are you listening
it
to
would be
catchphrases.
this?
such the case that you provide syllogisms for the
Yeah.
position of your objectors, of which
What do
you
you,
agree with.
Jack? What do you make of this? What do you make of this right now?
Well, I mean, he's triggered, but I don't know. You're saying it's like a delayed response triggering. Was that the
Yeah,
idea?
because like you see how you always get the indicator that like we're in the trigger zone because he'll there's telltale signs, and one of those signs is he'll make a callback to something that was said previously, which has been like the seed was planted and then it just like grows and grows. It's been festering, and by the time he makes that callback, you know he can't contain himself. His coping mechanisms have failed him, And now he just has to, like, you know, he's like, oh, you want to say, I don't care. And then when he says it, when he makes the call back, it's like, oh, he's fucking pissed, right? Well,
And you
he
want to
did
add
that
this
when
right here to the list of arguments under your belt? Are you serious? You're a
it's an
clown.
argument.
John, I just want you to put your cards on the table and tell me that standing on one foot cannot be amoral. Hello?
Yeah, please don't talk to me, sir.
Oh, because you know it sounds ridiculous.
So Jack, what it was? I don't know if you do you remember the callback? Does anybody remember the callback? Because I remember it because I caught it. So the callback was something about, he mentioned something about people calling his wife, what's the word? Whore, concubine, and there's another one. Something like that.
Girlfriend.
Yeah, and he made a callback to that, so he's pissed about that.
I don't even know what the relation is in all of this.
You got triggered. But John, I don't know if you remember this, but what happened
No,
was
I didn't get triggered in those words being used. The issue was the utter lack of consistency in trying to say that one needs to respect one's chosen identity and yet
okay,
simultaneously
let's not get back into that
mocking
right
it.
now. Listen.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Look.
That's what I was.
Okay.
Talking about.
Okay. Listen, John. When I came up with the "there are no morally neutral acts" argument, right? You and I disagreed. You thought that you agreed with the argument, and I was saying, well, most Christians are not going to agree with it. Most Christians are going to think that there are morally neutral acts. You disagreed with me on that, and then what we did is we tested it, and we asked Steph J, we asked I forget the other people, and they all thought that there are morally neutral acts, right? So you were wrong. Your intuition about this was wrong. And your fellow Christians, with regards to a proposed reductio, your fellow Christians thought it was ridiculous to say that standing on one foot for no reason is morally evil.
Yeah, and so with respects to morally neutral acts, like what I'm trying to say is spending money in and of itself is a morally neutral act. That's probably what they're understanding, right? But that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about real world situations. Person A, Tom Rabbit, for example, spent money, right? And so that action is not a morally neutral act because that action was
Jack, why
motivated.
does he think
That
like
action has
qualifying it is
reasons,
gonna matter
right?
at all? At
And so
the end of the
that
ledger, it's
if you're
still
going
gonna
to ask
be
me
not.
whether
It can't
spending
be morally
money
neutral. What
is a
does he think
morally
he's? I don't
neutral
understand.
act, I would say
What do
yes.
you think he's trying to do
And so what
here?
I think is that you try
Actually, I
to
don't understand it either.
I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to get you to doubt that what you're saying like makes sense, like your critique of him.
It doesn't matter what qualifications you add onto it. In the end, it's gonna be either good or evil. Period. I don't know what you're trying to accomplish by adding all these qualifications. It's like, what are these qualifications supposed to like show?
What I'm trying to say is that there are no actions that are performed which are morally neutral. What
Yeah,
you're
you
talking
agree
about
with
is
my
action in
argument.
of
Thank
itself
you.
being
What are you
morally
trying to
neutral.
convince
I can agree
me?
with that. That's not what the topic of discussion was. According to your syllogism, you're talking about actual specific actions
Oh my
that
God, man.
individually looked at in terms of whether they are morally neutral or not. Not the action. How many times have I said, in and of itself, does not establish whether it's good or evil, but every action is either good or evil, and so it's dependent upon what the motivations are behind the agent doing it, and so there's a deontology to it, right? It's either good or not. Every action is either good or not. That's my point.
Yeah, that's my argument, bro. I made the argument, dude. What are you telling me? My conclusion?
Yeah, but your argument has a lot of problems to it because it confuses an action of just spending money. Therefore, spending money is good or evil. Yes, it is either good or evil, but in and of itself, it's morally neutral.
There is nothing that's morally neutral.
No, spending, I don't know how many times I have to explain it, Tom. Spending money is morally neutral. But but an action of spending money is motivated. It's these motivations,
You
right? Not
just
the
said that
action.
you agree that there are no morally neutral acts, and then you just said spending money is morally neutral. You just contradicted yourself straightforwardly.
When one spends money, it is either
All
good
right,
or
look,
evil. This is
I
what I'm trying
can't,
to tell
look.
you.
This is why, if I remember correctly, this argument was also too powerful. It had to be entombed in a Chernobyl-esque sarcophagus, right? This is
No,
why,
you're just
I come up with these arguments, and I have to put them down for eternity, because
it's a
once they're
bunch of
released,
nonsense. Your
right?
argument's
It's just
nonsense, dude.
okay, John. John, let's just let it go, okay? Let's just let it go.
Now, what is he saying was nonsense there, Tom? The argument or like his conclusion?
I don't know, man. I don't know. John, look. Let's just take a break, man. Look, I'm exhausted. You two people are definitely exhausted too, probably. Listen, let's just end the day. I will do my best to use your pronouns. I might slip up here and there, right? If
Pronouns?
I yeah. Husband is a
Yeah,
pronoun,
trans
John.
husband.
That's what you
I'll
John.
tell
told
you
them.
what. Are you going to be offended and kick people down if they use the word girlfriend, Tom? Just out of curiosity?
Probably not.
So then I could call Brenda him and he,
No.
or would that be a double standard on your part?
Well, I think one is just societally just like far worse, right? It'd be like calling someone a cracker versus an N-word, right? It's just like you can call it a double standard, but it's just a
You
fact of the
don't
matter
consider
that
that
one is
consistent?
like perceived to be far worse.
You don't consider that inconsistent, Tom?
No, not really. No.
Did you understand what he said there, John?
Yeah, about the cracker. I heard him.
Yeah.
Nonsense, and I can tell why.
Okay, John. Well, I mean, look, if you want to say it's inconsistent, fine. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. So,
You know it's
yeah.
not a big deal to me, right? You know I'm not going to be sniveling about someone
Well, it seems like you're kind of sniveling now, right?
You already
Seems...
snivelled. You got pretty upset when people were calling your wife names, remember?
No,
Yeah,
you're not
you
understanding
did.
the point. You're not understanding the point. It was not the names in and of
Oh,
itself.
man.
It was the duplicity that I was upset about. And was I upset?
Oh,
Yes.
so if I have
But
good intentions when I call her names, that's fine?
if there's
Wow.
a certain consistency of your standard, and according to your own standard, you're calling it whatever you're calling it, well, I can only respect that, Jane. But if there's an inconsistency and a hypocrisy to what you're attempting to do, then then I would consider that being deliberately disingenuous. And yes, it would be the duplicity that I would be upset about. And if you think I ought not to be angry about that, that's your prerogative as well.
So just to
Yeah,
be
okay,
clear, if
John.
I have good intentions, I can call your wife names?
You just once again, you went right over your head. I did not even use the word intention once.
Well, that was your whole argument with your left foot standing on your left foot, right? That the intentions are what makes the action good or bad.
Oh, boy.
No.
Yep,
What I'm saying
that was your argument.
what I'm saying is this, okay? Someone can have good intentions, right? You might have heard the term "hell is paved with the road of good intentions," or whatever that phrase is, right? Which is accurate, right? So it's not the intentions in and of itself, right? It's the intentions that are whether they are in alignment with the standard of God or not. That's what
You don't
establishes
know what the
morally
standard of
good or
God
not.
is. You never will talk about it,
And
John.
so
It's not
anyway, that's
interesting.
the point. That's the point being made, James.
Your standard is what you